Call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-893-2288. That's 800-893-2288.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, E-T-H-O-S, ethos.com/Mike.
In Syria, the guns have fallen silent for now.
A ceasefire in Syria between government forces and the Kurdish-led SDF is mostly holding, despite sporadic skirmishes. UN officials say a convoy of 24 aid trucks was able to deliver food and water and other humanitarian supplies to Kobani, one of the enclaves still controlled by the SDF in Aleppo province. The latest agreement between Damascus and the Kurdish-led forces began Saturday and is supposed to last for 15 days. The plan is to give time for SDF members to merge into the army and police as individuals, and for the transfer of imprisoned Islamic State militant suspects to detention centers in Iraq. Shirin Hassan in Al-Hasaka hopes the calm brought by the ceasefire will continue. She says services were suspended for several days, but today the situation is good. Our morale is high and services are back to normal. I'm Jennifer King.
Looking to strengthen economic ties, Britain's prime minister is heading to China. News and analysis, townhall.com. Hot dog.
Oscar Mayer will have the entire fleet of 6 Wienermobiles competing for the second straight year on Indianapolis Motor Speedway's 2.5-mile oval. Now, last year's race was such a hit, organizers said, hey, let's do it again this year. Give fans another chance to savor the flavor of a light-hearted competition just 2 days before the actual Indy 500. Fans love watching Wienermobiles as they catch up with old friends. Jason Walker reporting.
2 big city newspapers, they had been rivals for a very long time, will be coming under joint ownership. Publisher USA Today, which was known as Gannett, owns the Detroit Free Press. Now it's planning to buy the Detroit News. As things currently stand, both papers will continue publishing separately. More on these stories, townhall.com.
It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Good morning, and welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. We are indeed live. It is Tuesday, January 27th. Mark Pulliam.
Good morning.
Studio.
Good to get out of the house.
I think everybody had cabin fever here in Nashville.
I think I still have some.
A little bit. Well, we're so glad you're here. It's time now for the morning rundown. It is Tuesday, January 27th, 2026. Morning Rundown is brought to you every day at this time by our good friends at the Glock Store, located just a few miles from the airport, right here in Nashville, Tennessee. So here we go. Here's the Morning Rundown for Tuesday, January 27th, 2026. Number 1, a big winter storm hit most of the United States and here in Middle Tennessee on Saturday. More than 200,000 power outages in Tennessee. No precipitation today, but it's very cold. It was 9 degrees when I left the Leahy Nest this morning to come to World Headquarters. And the big problem has been ice on trees, causing trees to fall down and knock out power lines, and black ice on roads. Number 2, on Saturday, a second anti-ice protester was killed in Minneapolis, this time by Border Patrol, not ICE. The organized insurrection of the left continued and is continuing. Number 3, however, Trump had a call with Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota and Mayor Jacob Fry of Minneapolis yesterday. Calm things down. They both kind of issued statements and said it was a good call. But the insurrection continues. Number 4, Tom Homan is taking over Minneapolis. Tom, of course, is a border czar advisor to the president. He was the acting director of ICE in the Trump 1.0. He also spent a lot of time as a Border Patrol guy, so he knows ICE and Border Patrol. Greg Bavino, the Border Patrol, commander at large, is being relieved and sent back to California. Number 5, Democrats are threatening to shut down the government over the DHS funding this Friday. Number 6, of course, we got Mark Pulliam here this hour. We'll talk a lot about the misrule of law. Number 7, in hour 2, E.J. Haast will be here. More on Minnesota. Number 8, hour 3, the All-Stars coming in. Matt Boyle, Tom Pappert, Clint Brewer. Matt by a phone, Tom by a Zoom, and Clint by a phone. And number 9, the Clinton contempt of Congress vote is going to the full House. So there you go. That's the morning rundown for Tuesday, January 27th, 2026. Mark, it's brought to you by the Glock Store. For years now, you've been hearing me talk about how the Glock Store is everything Glock. That's why Lenny McGill, the CEO and founder, named it the Glock Store. Have you heard about the latest Glocks, the Gen 6? Well, you can bet Lenny has. Do you have a Glock, Mark?
No.
We're going to have to fix that. Lenny tells me the new Gen 6, maybe you'll get a Gen 6. What do you think?
Well, if that officer or if that protester in Minneapolis had a Glock instead of a SIG, this may never happen.
That's a very
They're
good
talking
point.
about this accidental discharge, which
SIGs have a problem with, yeah. Well, the Gen 6 Glocks have a new optic system, RTF6 texturing, an enlarged beaver tail, flat face trigger guard undercut, and an integrated thumb rest, also known as the gas pedal. I don't know what all that means, but Lenny McGill does. In fact, Lenny tells me the Gen 6 Glocks are definitely the most refined Glocks ever produced. And as you might expect, the Glock Store has already received their first shipment of Gen 6 G17s, G19s, and G45s, but they were literally gone before they even made it to the warehouse. That's because the Glock Store is letting you pre-order these new Glocks, so you'll be the one to get your hands on it first. And as a thank you for your pre-order, you'll get an extra magazine when you receive your new Gen 6 Glock. Here's what you do. Mark, go to glockstore.com, click on the Gen 6 tab at the top of the website, place your pre-order for the Glock or Glocks of your choice. When they ship your new Glock to the FFL of your choice, or you go to the Glock Store retail showroom here in Nashville, the Glock Store will throw in an extra magazine. Mark, this is a limited time offer, only for pre-orders and only from my friends at the Glock Store, the number one source for Glock parts, accessories, and the new Gen 6 Glocks. Visit glockstore.com today. I promise you'll be glad you did. Glockstore.com. Well, Mark, I want to talk a little bit. We'll get to the Clinton contempt of Congress vote coming up. But let's go to Tom Homan first. Clip 1. Tom Homan, who was the former acting ICE director, was a Border Patrol guy. He's from Carthage, New York, which is in the upstate New York where I grew up in, almost to the Canadian border. Here's Tom Homan, clip 1.
6% decline. 96% less people are coming. How many women aren't being raped? How many children aren't dying making that journey? How many women and children aren't being sex trafficked into this country every day? How many known suspected terrorists aren't just walking across that border? President Trump and this administration is saving thousands of lives every month. Hard stop. That's just a stone cold fact. I'm just proud to be a part of this. I work with Steve Miller every day. Steve Miller is one of the most brilliant people I've met in my entire life. President.
Okay, so they're sending him in. He's there now. He's talking to Jacob Fry, Tim Walz. There's been conflict between Kristi Noem's approach and Tom Homan's approach. And now it looks like, Greg Pavino with Border Patrol. Border Patrol shouldn't be doing this. It's not their mission. ICE should be. And I think Homan understands that. I'm pretty confident that he will tamp it down, but continue the operations.
Well, our immigration laws are very important. They're really essential to preserving our national sovereignty. And it has never been controversial in America that illegal aliens should be deported. And in fact, millions were deported under Bill Clinton, millions were deported under Barack Obama, and Democrats applauded that. In fact, Obama gave Tom Homan a presidential medal at the end of his term for doing such a good job rounding up and deporting illegal aliens. It's only when Donald Trump got on the national stage that suddenly the Democrats went into this massive retreat and decided, no, we can't enforce our borders. We have to have open borders. And that would be a tragic mistake if America decided that, maybe that's a good idea. All we have to do is look at 4 years under Joe Biden.
Yeah.
He nearly destroyed our country. We need to shut down the border, and they have been shut down, and we need to deport all of the bad actors and illegal aliens in the United States. And now you got to be careful about your tactics. You have to have the right spokesperson walking us through it. But I think that this is a good sign that we're not abandoning Minnesota. We're just sort of changing our strategy a little bit.
I think that makes sense. Speaking of Bill Clinton, a lot of deportations under President Clinton. President Clinton, however, is thumbing his nose at Congress. He had his attorneys, both Hillary and Bill, were supposed to testify before the Oversight Committee on Epstein matters. They both had their attorneys say, "No, your subpoena to us is not valid." I don't know how they made that up. A subpoena, if it's not a relevant act of the Oversight Committee, could be described as not valid. But the Oversight Committee is just doing oversight. Now, it was voted out 38-4 out of the committee to hold Bill Clinton in contempt of Congress. And similar for Hillary, it's going to go for the full House for a contempt of Congress vote. How's that going to go?
I think they will vote to approve, to have Congress, not just this committee, but to have Congress hold Bill Clinton in contempt. So it's important to remember congressional committees have the legal authority to subpoena witnesses. And once you've been subpoenaed, you can't just say, no, I'm not going to do it. There's processes. You could try to quash a subpoena if you thought it was improper. But what Bill Clinton did, and it's a serious matter, that both Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro were tried and convicted and served 4 months in prison for being in contempt of Congress. If you defy a subpoena, you can be prosecuted for contempt of Congress. And Eric Holder, on the other hand, there seems to be a double standard here. He defied a congressional subpoena, and no action was taken against him.
What's the Department of Justice going to do? Prosecute him?
They'll prosecute him. Now, whether you can get
what jury will convene? D.C.?
It'd be in D.C.
D.C. A jury in D.C. will not convict him.
Although this Epstein mind virus affects everybody, and so the Democrats thought that they could use Jeffrey Epstein as a weapon against President Trump. It backfired. Turns out the biggest target is Bill Clinton.
There you go.
And he's trying to get off the hook.
We'll have more when we get back. Mark Pulliam here. We'll talk more Minnesota. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy.
Ponder this, Judgment Day, the day you go before the Lord face to face. For many of us, this day seems like a long way away, and we are told that all of us will be in a better place when we die. What many of us forget is that our God is a God of justice. On Judgment Day, you will stand before the Lord and account for all of your thoughts, words, and actions during your time here on earth. You might be thinking that you're not such a bad dude, you didn't kill anyone, and you went to church every now and then, so you've earned your ticket to heaven. Hold that thought, as the Lord has told us what we need to get through those pearly gates. We must believe in Him, be baptized, follow Him by keeping His commandments, love Him, and love our friends and enemies. It doesn't matter how much knowledge you possess, how many awards or accolades are on your resume, or how much money you have, nor how high you are on the ladder of success. Judgment Day is real, and you are not judged by a jury of your peers. Prepare each day for Judgment Day. I'm Susie Kelly, and I am passionately Catholic.
1775 Coffee is giving away free starter kits. Try the dark or medium roast coffee with longevity blend, an infused blend with anti-aging supplements clinically proven to reduce biological age. When you purchase the first 2 bags, you'll receive a free 1775 starter kit, including a third 16-ounce bag of coffee, a matte black tumbler, a frother, a gold scoop, or a reusable K-cup filter. Just order now at 1775coffee.com/Godzilla and claim your free 1775 starter kit while supplies last.
The math is simple. Every dollar we waste on unnecessary federal supervision is a dollar we can't use to fight violent crime. The Safer Supervision Act cuts bureaucratic waste and frees up law enforcement resources to protect families from serious threats. Law enforcement officers across the country and Republicans in Congress agree this is a smarter way to improve public safety. Stop the waste, protect our communities, fix federal supervision. Visit safersupervision.com to help. Paid for by the Reform Action Fund.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner.
Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. You know, the big wireless companies say they have discounts for people over 55, but unless you're willing to sit on hold and ask, you're probably paying more than you should. At Consumer Cellular, there's nothing to hunt down. We're built for people 50 plus with plans starting at just $20. And our 100% US-based customer service actually answers the phone. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today and get your second month free for a limited time.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of Glockstore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported the Second Amendment rights of free men and women to protect themselves and their families with firearms. We offer the very best in both selection and prices on Glock handguns, custom Glocks, Glock magazines, and high-performance shooting accessories at Glockstore.com. We also have the finest retail showroom and our Shoot 270 shoot rooms right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Come visit us at Glockstore.com, and you'll be glad you did.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Mark Polian, author of The Misrule of Law blog, accomplished attorney, retired. We're trying to drag him out of it. Mark, in the 1950s and 1960s, governors in the southern states, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, refused to follow Supreme Court precedent and laws passed by Congress in the civil rights arena. And President Eisenhower had to send the 101st Airborne into Little Rock, 1957, to integrate the public schools there. And then President Kennedy had to send troops into Alabama and Mississippi in the 60s. Today, the insurrectionists' governors are in blue states, in particular Minnesota, Tim Walz. Tim Walz does not want to have the state abide by immigration laws that have been around really since 1929. And it updated subsequently. What do you make of this big mess up there?
Well, so we have seen a lot of talk about nullification in Minnesota, and what they're doing is exactly trying to nullify federal law. The difference between historical examples of nullification, like the ones you described in the 50s and 60s, opposing integration of schools, and probably the better parallel, 1832 in South Carolina, when John Calhoun encouraged the state of South Carolina to stand up to the federal government over collecting tariffs, and basically said, we're going to militarily oppose the federal government to collect these tariffs in South Carolina. And in the examples that you cited, Orville Faubus called out the National Guard, the state National Guard, to prevent integration of schools in Little Rock. George Wallace, the governor of Alabama, stood in the schoolhouse door at the University of Alabama to prevent black students from enrolling. So that was a direct physical confrontation that was being threatened or committed to prevent federal law from being enforced. What Walz and his crew up in Minnesota have done is a little bit smarter than that. So there's not a direct defiance, physical confrontation by the state against the feds, because they know if they do that, then the American public would support the Insurrection Act, bringing federal troops in. So they've done what I would call a soft or backdoor nullification, but it's as equally effective as the hard nullification. It might even be more effective because you don't have the PR consequences. And so you begin by saying, we're not going to cooperate with anything you do. We're going to call ourselves a sanctuary state or sanctuary cities, and we're not. And then you encourage the public to interfere and to oppose and obstruct ICE. You have judges who issue injunctions which impede the performance of their duties or make it less safe to do it.
Let's be clear. These are Biden-appointed, Obama-appointed federal district court judges.
Yeah, and then they have all their state judges who are marching in lockstep with that to the extent that they can play a role. Then you have the blue slip policies, which allow Democrat senators in blue states to basically censor or veto any Republican judicial nominees or U.S. attorney nominees. So you end up with squishy federal judges, even in you get squishier than you would like, and then sometimes a vacancy in the U.S. Attorney Office, and we've seen problems with that in the Eastern District of Virginia, in New Jersey, where the prosecution of James Comey and Letitia James were dismissed on some technical grounds because he couldn't get the U.S. attorney he wanted in there. You have Soros-funded prosecutors refusing to perform their duty to prosecute the laws or who prosecute innocent people. And we saw just this last week a magistrate judge in Minnesota who is a judge, not even a judge, he's a legal officer.
Explain what a magistrate judge is. Typically, there are about 94 federal districts in the United States. It's the first level of federal courts. The levels are district courts, appellate courts, 13 appellate courts, and then the Supreme Court.
Yeah. So in every one of these districts has multiple district judges who are
like 7, 8, 9.
Appointed, nominated by the president, confirmed by the Senate, served for life. Those are Article III judges. And now every judicial district in the United States also has magistrates. And these are people that perform ministerial tasks. They hear, discovery disputes. They do arraignments, etc. And these people are not nominated by the president. They're not confirmed by the Senate. They are chosen by the district judges in that district, and they are sometimes referred to as judges, but they're not judges. They're legal officers. In some cases, little more than clerks at the DMV. But because the district judges don't want to get their hands dirty doing tedious things, they turn over the tedious things to these magistrates, like discovery disputes, settlement conferences, and issuing arrest warrants. And so we had Don Lemon and 4 others were DOJ was trying to get arrest warrants for invading that church and disrupting the service, and the magistrate refused. So it's not just the district judges who can be bad. It's even these magistrates.
What do we know about that magistrate?
Well, as it turns out, and you would not read about this in the paper because it wasn't considered newsworthy because it isn't part of the anti-Trump narrative, is that this magistrate is married to a left-wing lawyer who frequently posts anti-ICE and anti-Trump content on social media, who happens also to be a deputy attorney general working for Keith Ellison.
The state
attorney general, who's one of the most obnoxiously left-wing elected officials anywhere in the country, and who has basically immediately said the Border Patrol guilty of murder over this Alex Preddy thing. So he's very biased against Trump. He's made up his mind. He wants ICE to get out of Minnesota. And so this magistrate should have recused himself for an actual or perceived conflict of interest.
But he didn't. And so what's the recourse there, right?
Well, they've appealed. You can appeal to a district judge, and then they tried to take a writ of mandate to the 8th Circuit. And all of these judges don't want to get dragged into the middle of a controversy, particularly if there's not a lot of precedent for it. So they can go try to make a better case for these arrest warrants, and I think they will. But it doesn't end there. You have grand juries that in blue states, it's very difficult to get an indictment. And the Wall Street Journal says that in at least 5 instances, northern Illinois, that would be Chicago, grand jurors have declined to indict people charged with interfering in federal immigration enforcement. And then even if you get an indictment and you bring somebody to trial, juries can and do acquit, and that's called jury nullification.
Yeah, we got that going on too in blue states and blue cities.
Yeah, and so recently a federal jury in Chicago acquitted a man accused of putting a $10,000 bounty on the head of Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bavino, and it took the jury a little more than 3 hours to do that. We saw the same thing happen with the in D.C. where the protester threw a submarine sandwich, and after Jeanine Pirro, it took her a long time to get a grand jury to indict, took him to trial, and he got acquitted. So if you strip the legal system of its functionality, if judges don't do their jobs, if grand juries don't do their jobs, if actual trial juries don't do their job, then effectively you do not have a legal system anymore. You do not have a rule of law. And without laws, we're at mercy of the mob. And that's what we're seeing in Minneapolis now.
In blue states and blue cities, we really don't have justice or rule of law. Derek Chauvin, for instance.
Yeah.
Who was railroaded. The minute it happened, they set him up and they convicted him. They went through the motions of it, but he didn't get a fair trial.
And unfortunately, that was the worst consequence of the summer of 2020 is mob rule took over, and to some extent it still exists in some blue states and blue cities. Mob rule is the equivalent of anarchy, which is the equivalent of chaos, which is the equivalent of a return to a Hobbesian state of nature. Thomas Hobbes said, without civil society, life is solitary, poor, nasty, Brutus, and short.
Oh, gosh, but we don't have that to look forward to. Maybe. We'll have more with the propaganda of the press on this whole issue. With Mark Pulliam, back after this.
Now more than ever, it's imperative to support companies that share our conservative values. That's why I can't be more excited to tell you that I've switched my family to Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you shift your support away from the leftist, woke, progressive agendas of Big Mobile. Patriot Mobile's wireless service works perfectly and seamlessly as you go about your lives with exceptional nationwide coverage that uses the same towers the main carriers use. Patriot Mobile donates a portion of every dollar earned to causes you care about, to organizations that fight for religious freedom, First and Second Amendments, sanctity of life, and the needs of veterans and first responders. Patriot Mobile has plans to fit any budget, along with great discounts for our veterans and first responder heroes, as well as multi-line users. Switching is easy. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Godzilla or call their U.S.-based customer service team, 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-728-7468. Use offer code Godzilla for free activation.
Did you ever stop and think, why do the wealthy pay less taxes than we do? One reason, they take full advantage of the IRS tax code. Today's tax code is over 2 million pages. Who can read that? Remember the 2016 debate with Hillary Clinton? When asked why he doesn't pay more taxes, President Trump had the perfect answer. He said, if you don't like the current tax code, change it. I follow the very laws that you wrote. That's where Julio Gonzalez and his company, Tax Engineered Services, comes in. Julio's team looks at your taxes after they're done, but before you file them with the IRS. He doesn't get between you and your accountant. He reviews your taxes, makes his recommendations, and only gets 5 to 10% of what he saved you. No money up front, no cost. It's tax literacy for MAGA. He also sees what grants you may qualify for. For more information, text ETS to the number 26786. That's ETS to 26786. Text now.
Do you think workers in Virginia should be forced to pay union dues and fees just to get or keep a job? For 80% of Virginians, the answer is no. That's why Virginia's right-to-work law is so popular. Unfortunately, special interest lobbyists in Richmond are seeking to repeal right-to-work in Virginia. With the General Assembly back, it is vital to tell your legislators and Governor Abigail Spanberger to oppose forced unionism and protect right-to-work in Virginia. Sign your petition today at virginiarighttowork.com. That's virginiarighttowork.com. The National Right to Work Committee paid for this ad. Is your pet ready for some possum fun? At Creekside Pet Hotel in Kennesaw, every day is a tail-wagging adventure. Whether they're romping with friends in day camp, enjoying a staycation in our cozy boarding, or getting pampered in our luxury spa, we make sure every furry guest gets the royal treatment. Happy pets, wagging tails, and the best care. What more could they ask for? Book your pet's perfect getaway today at creeksidepethotel.com or give us a call at 770-422-4700.
My fellow Americans, I have to tell you about my good friends at D.T. McCall & Sons. They have furniture and appliances and a lot more. They've been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years, and they're not going to rip you off. No hidden charges, no delivery charges, no charges for all of the crazy things. These are sick people at the lumber yards. These are very sick people. They charge you for cords and hoses and haul off. They charge you for all of these things. They call them hidden charges. It's the type of surprise that you don't want to see. It's like an October surprise, but it's worse. D.T. McCall & Sons, they're not going to do that. They're great people. They're going to give you a great deal. With locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, D.T. McCall & Sons will give you the deal of your life. Check them out today or go to dtmccalls.com.
Impersonator not endorsed by Donald Trump.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. In studio, author of Misrule of Law, retired attorney. Keep trying to drag him back into it, but he keeps resisting. The one, the only, Mark Pulliam. Mark, the press is full of propaganda on the Minnesota situation. What's your thought on this?
So we've talked about the propaganda press in the past, and every week there's new examples. One of the differences between the soft nullification we just talked about going on in Minnesota and the civil rights resistance in the 50s and 60s and the nullification crisis in 1832 is that now you have the National Press Corps lined up squarely behind these insurrectionists, trying to distort the narrative of what's actually happening and trying to influence public opinion in their favor. And in many cases in the past, they've been successful. I don't see the table turning quite yet. But for these reasons, I regard this biased national media as one of our greatest threats to democracy.
Let me just stop and say, I think you're absolutely right. And when you say it's a fragmented media these days because of the internet and X, et cetera, but the voices, sort of the America First crowd, still really doesn't have anywhere close to the array of media outlets that regime media has.
Exactly. I mean, Fox News has a big following, and people can read publications like the Tennessee Star and the Federalist. But
you can find it.
But the average person, what they listen to or see on TV is a narrative that is very much anti-Trump and anti-ICE. Now, for instance, to use a recent example, the headlines, ICE kidnapped a 5-year-old boy. And you see all of these Democrats on TV reciting the same talking points. This is horrific. That shows how they're Gestapo. This is, America's better than this. Well, as it turns out, once the story was accurately told, they didn't kidnap or arrest a 5-year-old. They were going after the father, who was a criminal illegal alien. And in order to escape apprehension, this criminal illegal alien abandoned his child in the middle of the street in freezing temperatures, and ICE took custody of this kid, and then they tried to turn him in or return him to the mother.
Alleged mother.
The mother, they didn't want to answer the door because, we'll get
ICE
deported.
will come get me.
Yeah. And so So it was a nothing story, but they tried to turn it into, we have to stop enforcing our immigration laws because of this. You look at the media hysteria over justified self-defense shootings, the Renee Good case, and even this Alex Preddy, which turns out to be a little more ambiguous.
It is more ambiguous, asterisk. But back to the whole Alex Preddy thing. So the Renee Good thing, it seems pretty clear that she was driving her vehicle, SUV, and an ICE officer. It was an ICE guy, not Border Patrol. Again, I'll repeat, it doesn't make sense. Border Patrol's mission is to protect the border. It's not to remove illegals from the country. So this should be an ICE operation. But I guess they needed extra help or something like that. Go ahead.
Well, so you might ask, how did the press corps get so left-wing, and why
how
are
did they get so left-wing? They've been left-wing for centuries.
Well, it's gotten worse and worse and worse. I think the Pandora's box was opened during the Vietnam War with the coverage of the Tet Offensive in 1968, and by all military strategists' consensus, it was a major defeat for the North Vietnamese. They suffered horrific casualties, 10-1. But the way it was reported by the press corps, who was in Saigon, and this was the first time they'd actually seen any actual conflict, it was a horrible defeat for the United States. And based on that coverage in 1968, the American public soured on the Vietnam War, and it just was spiraling into this humiliating withdrawal under Nixon. But I think this is just like the Supreme Court with Brown versus Board of Education. They realized in 1954 that they had the power, they can do anything they want, and people will obey. The press corps, after the Tet Offensive, said they will believe anything we report so we can do what we want. And what did they do? Well, their next big scalp was to get rid of Richard Nixon. And so that Watergate.
We reported on that,
and then with Woodward and Bernstein, every left-wing, idealistic left-wing college student said, I want to become a reporter so I can do battle with the bad guys.
So, yeah, the idea was, I want to become a reporter so I can save the world and change it.
Yeah.
That's not really the job of a reporter.
And, all these journalism jobs, a lot of them have become a dead end just because people aren't reading newspapers or magazines anymore. But it hasn't prevented them from going into other media outlets. So you look at what they've been doing after Watergate. They're covering up for the Clintons and the horrible corruption throughout their administration while they were in Arkansas, and even with the Clinton Foundation after they left. Anointing Obama, barely got elected to the Senate in Illinois, had very sketchy background, but he was, the next coming. They ignored Biden's obvious cognitive impairment, constantly attacking Donald Trump, fueling the Russian collusion hoax, J6, the lawfare, impeachments, and now they're demonizing ICE, trying to turn public opinion against enforcing immigration laws.
This is interesting because that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're taking these situations where Renee Good was shot and killed when she had the SUV attacking an ICE officer. That looks like increasingly like a justified shoot. This Alex Preddy situation, a little different, a little bit more complex. But he was there. He was carrying a loaded Sig Sauer. He was not carrying identification. He had a concealed carry permit, but the law in Minnesota says you have to have your own personal ID. He didn't. Nonetheless, was he pulling the gun out or his phone out? It's uncertain. But the point is that that is not. You get all these pontificators, Mark, who are trying to, who none of them have been in law enforcement, who are looking at various elements of the video, trying to make a conclusion. That's not the way to do it at all.
And it was a total rush to judgment, and that's because their coverage is totally one-sided. They'd never focus on the victims of illegal alien crimes, and there are many, many horrific victims of illegal alien crimes. They don't focus on attacks on ICE, or if they do, it's kind of treated as an amusing story. An ICE officer gets his finger bitten off, and that should be the headline. Is that you got these savages, these animals out there doing this. This is like chimpanzees escaped from the laboratory and are attacking humans, except these are protesters. And so Americans elected Donald Trump in 2024 to close the border and deport the illegal aliens.
People are totally supportive of that.
And they still are, and that's what makes the press corps like, well, we're going to do whatever it takes to turn that around. And ironically, the more obnoxiously biased the journalists, the more they're celebrated in these circles. Dan Rather, who got fired by CBS for lying about
George W. Bush.
W. Bush. The University of Texas Journalism School hands out every year a Dan Rather Medal for excellence in news. Leftist outlets like the New York Times and the Washington Post get Pulitzer Prizes. The bigger the lie, the more awards you get. And this goes back to Walter Duranty, who a New York Times reporter, the Russian correspondent, who was given a Pulitzer Prize for basically promoting Stalin's propaganda in the pages of the New York Times. So this is a huge threat to our democracy, because if people do not have access to fair, honest information, they can't make sound decisions. And the news coverage when this magistrate, Douglas Miko, refused to issue an arrest warrant for Don Lemon, they said, well, this proves that the Trump administration was unjustified in seeking to have him arrested. Well, of course he should be arrested. He filmed himself in the church, disrupting a church service. He wasn't covering it. He was participating in it.
There's even more to that. Apparently now the pastor of the church and congregants are likely to file civil lawsuits against the invaders, including Don Lemon, and justifiably so. There are reports in this situation that they had the kids upstairs.
Yeah, at Sunday school.
In Sunday school. And the protesters failed to allow the parents to go up and see the kids.
And they were telling them, your parents are going to burn in hell. I mean, it was evil. What they did was evil on a massive scale. And they press, so not only do they report false things, they don't report the truth. And the truth, as we talked about in the last segment, is this magistrate, who's not a judge, he's a functionary picked by these left-wing judges who dominate the District of Minnesota, married to a left-wing activist who works for probably the most left-wing state attorney general in America, Keith Ellison, he's just awful. And he should have recused himself. The press should have jumped on this and said, this is an outrage that this magistrate who has a conflict of interest would be issuing this biased decision. But no, they're totally rooting for Don Lemon, and they're rooting for all these anti-ICE activists. And so sometimes people say, well, it's too bad the American public is tuning out the news. Well, if what they're getting is 100% false crap, maybe it's a good thing they're tuning it out.
Well, yeah, it's a big problem. And I'll tell you what, it's not been solved. And it's going to continue. Because what we've got is the regime media with that huge infrastructure. And I'm going to include local television news politically. Although local television news, I think, has done a really good job here in Nashville covering the storms. But politically, they're biased and they're leftists. This is a big challenge, I think, it seems to me.
Well, fortunately, there are conservative media outlets. Every morning when I wake up, the first thing I look at is a Tennessee Star,
of course,
Powerline, Instapundit, and the Federalist. And my news carrier accidentally delivered a copy of the Tennessean one day instead of my Wall Street Journal. And so it was the first time I'd ever actually read a Tennessean.
You used it for covering your birdcage subsequently?
If I had a bird, I would. But it was total garbage. It was like reading The Nation. It's left-wing propaganda, and it's appalling.
We'll have more when we get back with Mark Pulliam. Crime is down, but you wouldn't know it. I wonder why. Back after this.
Is a record player the best way to listen to music? Of course not. So why are you still taking vitamins in pill form that haven't been upgraded since the 1930s? Even if you don't have trouble swallowing, most vitamins in pill form can't be absorbed very well. It's time to upgrade to the pill-free future of vitamins. Advanced nutrition company, Healthy Cell, created a patent-pending ingestible gel that is clinically proven to have 265% the absorption rate of tablets. These physician-formulated supplements come in a small gel pack. You tear off the top and shoot it down. You can also mix it in water. They taste great, they're convenient on the go, and they're more natural too, without chemical binders, fillers, and coatings. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of any product. That's healthycell.com. HEALTHYCELL.com.
1775 Coffee is giving away free starter kits. Try the dark or medium roast coffee with longevity blend, an infused blend with anti-aging calcium alpha-ketoglutarate, which has been clinically proven to reduce biological age. When you purchase the first 2 bags, you'll receive a free 1775 starter kit, including a third 16-ounce bag of coffee, a matte black tumbler, a frother, a gold scoop, or a reusable K-cup filter. Just order now at 1775coffee.com/Godzilla and claim your free 1775 starter kit while supplies last.
What happens in Virginia doesn't stay in Virginia. It influences policy and policymakers nationwide. The VirginiaStar.com shines a light on the issues in VA that become issues for the USA, with insightful commentary that gets to the fact of the matter. The VirginiaStar.com is your source of wisdom and truth, locally, statewide, and nationally. Log on today and every day. The VirginiaStar.com. The VirginiaStar.com. The Cats and Cosby Show.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories.
It's not that all Somalis are criminal. It's just that 90% of these crimes are being committed by Somali Americans. And if you came to this country and you took advantage of the Americans' generosity, you committed fraud, and you refused to assimilate, you know what? I got 4 words for you. Get the hell out.
Cats and Cosby, 5 Eastern, 4 Central on the John Fredericks Media Network.
The book needs to be thrown at these people.
When you're learning something new, experience matters. At Lifestyles Unlimited, we've spent over 30 years teaching people how real estate investing works and how to build income with a clear, step-by-step strategy. Our program is designed to help you learn what to do, why it works, and how to take action at your own pace. Join today for just $297, a 60% savings off the regular price. Text radio to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
Hey there, it's Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of GlockStore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported our Second Amendment rights with GlockStore.com, the world's #1 source for Glock handguns, parts, and accessories. I also support accurate, unbiased journalism like The Michael Patrick Leahy Show. His team broke the Kilmar Abrego Garcia traffic stop and was the first to obtain that video. Independent journalism at its finest. Visit us at GlockStore.com, listen to Michael Patrick Leahy, and make America great again.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. In studio, author of the Misrule of Law blog, the one, the only, Mark Pulliam. Mark, crime is down in the United States significantly. I think it's the lowest crime rates on major crimes for like over 100 years. I wonder why that is, Mark, and I wonder who's responsible for it.
Well, we talked about the propaganda press, and if we had a fair and unbiased media, the headlines last week would have been trumpeting President Trump's border enforcement and emphasis on law enforcement in America's cities have produced a dramatic, nay, historic decline in the crime rate. But we didn't see that headline.
Didn't see it.
And the reason for that is the left has a narrative about crime. And according to the left, and this is the narrative that is fueled by the Soros-funded prosecutors, the soft on crime elected officials, and all the crybabies who support criminals, is that criminality is a result of inequality in our society, systemic racism, biased policing, etc., instead of crime is what criminals do if they can get away with it. And that's
regardless of whether they were born into poverty or not, right?
Right. And so, the crime rate does fluctuate, and it's sensitive to certain things that happen in our society. But one of the big things that it's sensitive to is laxity in enforcement and punishment. So what we do know, what was in the news, even CBS had to report this, murders plummeted more than 20% in 2025 from the year before, the single largest one-time drop on record, and it might be the lowest murder rate in the United States since 1900. And this was based on a survey of data from 40 large cities across the United States for 13 different crime types. Alongside homicides, which dropped 21% from 2024, carjackings have declined 61% since 2023, shoplifting is down, the overall crime rate declined. But none of the news media want to say this is because of Donald Trump getting rid of all these criminal illegal aliens and cracking down with the enforcement of laws in our cities, particularly D.C. and Memphis. So what causes crime to go down? Effective law enforcement makes it go down. Fear of punishment.
It's the famous broken windows theory. James Q. Wilson, who was my professor at Harvard many years ago.
You're a lucky man.
The late, great. I got an A- in his course, by the way. He was tough.
He's one of the greatest political scientists of our age.
But he basically, tracked police and crime and bureaucracy. And he's actually the guy that came up with the broken windows theory. And then Rudy Giuliani, when he was mayor of New York City, implemented it. And it works.
So
if you have a broken window, the criminals look at that and say, nobody's paying attention here. But if you fix the broken windows, there's no indication that police and civil authority is not active, and therefore they're less likely to commit a crime there.
So in New York, before this crackdown, you had these squeegee people at the stoplights saying, do you want me to clean your windshield? And it was extortion. So there was this sense of chaos, a sense of danger, that nobody was in charge, that the criminals could do what they wanted, and that the criminals could sense it too, and they did what they wanted. So by restoring a culture of law and order to cities, you make crime go down. So this is what the federals had to say. Removing convicted murderers, rapists, and thieves from communities is a pretty proven way to stop repeat offenders and hence repeat offenses. And it says, it is, however, as easy for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for corporate media to give President Donald Trump credit for anything, including his administration's success in taking on crime.
I note the biblical reference there.
Yeah, and so law and order works. And, Richard Nixon knew this. He got reelected in a landslide by promising law and order. And it's interesting to note that 2 of the top 5 cities, Los Angeles and D.C., had a National Guard presence in 2025, even when Democrat mayors were insisting that they leave. These Democrat mayors do not really care about the public safety of their constituents.
Yeah.
They want there to be chaos.
Isn't that stunningly obvious?
Yeah. And National Guard soldiers have been welcomed in Memphis, which routinely has posted the highest violent crime rate in the country. But in Memphis, Tennessee, we saw crime in the fourth quarter plunge 44%, with car theft down nearly 70%.
Memphis, the city of Memphis, has a Democrat mayor, Paul Young, who did the right thing, and he worked cooperatively with law enforcement.
So this is just like keeping people from crossing the border. All you got to do is send troops down there and show resolve. If you let people cross illegally, they'll cross illegally. If you let people commit crimes in our cities, they will carjack, to their heart's content. So you have to crack down, you have to enforce laws, and President Trump has fixed Biden's broken policies and restored law and order to American cities, and that is critically important.
It is. And Mark Pulliam, it's a delight, as always, to have you here. We'll see you next Monday in hour 2 of the program. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Michael.
All right, when we come back, E.J. Haas, the official guest host of the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, will be here in studio with more analysis on the craziness in Minnesota, her former residence. Back after this.
Each of us is born with 30 trillion cells that make us. These cells determine how we feel, perform, sleep, focus, and how long we live. And to live our best life, all we have to do is feed our cells properly. But most supplements don't reach our cells, keeping us from reaching our full potential. Make every cell count with Healthy Cell. Founded with a mission to empower people to take control of their own health at the most fundamental level, the cell. Dr. Vincent Gempapa, world-renowned cell researcher and medical doctor, created supplements that work at the cellular level to support immune health, better sleep, sharper focus, and healthy aging. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of any product. That's healthycell.com, HEALTHYCELL, and use code GODZILLA for 20% off.
Trump 2.0 is in full effect. How do you keep up with all the action? I'll tell you. TrumpNationNews.com is your inside source for the inside scoop. Manufacturing, jobs, deportations, and the nation's rejuvenation. The first 100 days and beyond. All the news you need and no liberal gibberish. It's the perfect way to start your day. Sign up for the TNN newsletter. Do it today. TrumpNationNews.com. TrumpNationNews.com. Part of the John Fredericks Media Network.
John Fredericks loves his radio and TV audience, but did you know how to follow the Godzilla of Truth wherever you go? Download the John Fredericks Radio Show app to listen live nationwide. For the daily chit-chat, Trucking the Truth, download the Getter app and join the morning fun on Getter Live from 6 to 10 a.m. Follow John Fredericks on Getter, Truth Social, or Twitter at JF Radio.
WJFN W224EB 92.7 FM Chester, W299DB 107.7 Bon Air, 100.5 FM Goochland, and WJFB.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Minnesota's chief federal judge, Patrick Schultz, is ordering acting ICE director Todd Lyons to appear before him on Friday to explain why he, Lyons, should not be held in contempt. The judge says the Trump administration has failed to comply with an order to hold hearings for those detained during immigration sweeps. And the Trump administration is shuffling the deck among those in charge of the immigration enforcement operation in Minneapolis.
A source tells the AP a senior Border Patrol commander and some agents are expected to leave Minneapolis. Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino has been at the center of the Trump administration's aggressive immigration enforcement surge in cities nationwide. Criticism of Bovino has intensified after he defended the shooting death in Minneapolis of Alex Preddy by Border Patrol agents. Bovino disputed claims about the confrontation that led to Preddy's death. President Trump has sent border czar Tom Homan to Minneapolis to take charge of immigration and customs enforcement operations. I'm Ed Donahue.
Countless communities in many states are struggling in the aftermath of the massive winter storm. It dumped so much snow in some places and laid down a thick blanket of ice in others. Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves.
Ice storms are different than virtually any other type of storm that we deal with. And it's particularly different when you see the ice come in and then 48 hours or so after the precipitation leaves, the temperature has still not gotten above freezing, and therefore it creates challenges in terms of getting assets deployed.
In Maine, there is speculation that the weather could have played a role in the crash of a business jet in Bangor. All 6 people on board that plane were killed. On Wall Street, stocks are mixed. The Dow is down 410 points, NASDAQ up 213. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Hey, I am Brant, and her name is Sherry, and she's a friend and a colleague of mine, and we were just praying for her, actually, because she had a major surgery she just went through.
Yes, and I am very happy about something you actually talk about all the time, which is Medishare. That's right.
Of course.
Yeah.
So what was your experience like with Medishare and your healthcare bills?
You know what? It was seamless, and that's such a blessing when you're already nervous about a health issue, which I was.
Yeah.
Members shared my expenses. There were zero problems, and let me tell you, having people pray with you when you call in, and it's just what you need. It's so refreshing.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling people. People love Medishare and saving tons of money. The typical family, I'm fond of saying, can save $500 a month.
I am so thankful for Medishare. It's so different, and I mean different in a very, very good way, Brant.
It is a good different. Call right now. They're so easy to talk to. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number. Call 844-94-BIBLE. That's 844-94-BIBLE. 844-94-BIBLE.
British leader Keir Starmer seeks a thaw in icy relations between London and Beijing.
Britain's Prime Minister is on his way to China with the aim of improved relations. The Premier is hoping for an economic boost for Britain as tensions with the US remain. Britain is seeking Chinese technology and investment, along with greater access to the Chinese market for UK financial services, cars and Scotch whisky. Starmer's move risks upsetting China hawks back home in the UK, as well as President Trump in the US. Starmer will be accompanied by a delegation of corporate leaders on the visit starting Wednesday and is due to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping. His visit comes as some US allies reconsider their ties with Washington amid Trump's America First foreign policy. I'm Karen Shamas.
There is a new free trade deal between the EU and India. The pact covers some 2 billion people. News and analysis at townhall.com. Along with Australia and France and other countries considering a measure it's aimed at protecting kids online.
Egypt is exploring ways to regulate children's use of social media. The Egyptian parliament announced plans Sunday to draft legislation aimed at ending what it calls the digital chaos affecting children. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has called for restrictions until children are mature enough to handle social media responsibly. Australia, the United Kingdom, and France are considering similar measures to protect children from online risks. Keith Peters, Washington.
One word, affordability, will be one of President Trump's main themes when he pays a visit to Iowa later today. While he's there, the president will visit a local business. He's also scheduled to deliver a speech that will take place at the Horizon Event Center in the Des Moines suburb of Clive. More on these stories at townhall.com.
It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Good morning, and welcome back to Hour 2 of the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. In studio, the official guest host of the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, the one, the only, E.J. Haas. Good morning, E.J.
Hello, happy Tuesday. Glad we made it in today.
Made it in. Well, rough weather here in Middle Tennessee since Saturday morning.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think Saturday was kind of a nothing burger. And I'm a little disappointed that they were so off in the predictions and everything else.
In terms of snowfall amounts?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and ice and everything happening on Saturday. That really damages local business. It really, millions and millions of dollars lost in local business because people thought they couldn't leave their homes. So think of,
they couldn't leave them on Sunday and Monday.
Sunday for sure, but Saturday was still okay. And so if you had a medical appointment or if you were just scheduled to buy a car, like it could be almost anything, and you didn't because of the weather, that really hampers local business.
Starting Sunday here in Middle Tennessee, about 200,000 people were out of power, mostly in Nashville. Nashville Electric Service.
Yep. Up Belmead, Brentwood, Green Hills, all around the Belmont area, all without power. Oh, all the way up into Germantown.
Yeah. Our studio had lost power for about an hour and a half on Sunday, and we lost internet for about an hour and a half on Monday. That's why we had a best of yesterday. But here we are.
Yeah. Not much you can do in studio if you don't have internet.
Live and in living color, and glad to be here today. It is cold, though. It's very cold. Okay, so Minnesota. You're a former resident of Minnesota.
Sadly, yes.
The left clearly is organized, and this is kind of an insurgency operation.
Oh, not even kind of. I
Yeah.
think it's been revealed now thanks to the signal chats being revealed and the donor network. Interestingly enough, the more you dig, the more you find that U.S. and Canadian labor unions are playing a major role in this. The reason this is all, so dangerous is not just because of what's happening in the Twin Cities, but it's emboldening all of these organizations to fulfill this kind of weird pipe dream they have for color revolution, like actual political revolution.
Yeah.
That's pretty dangerous. And the unions play a big role. So you've got Randy Weingarten. She's the head of the largest education union in the United States, the National Education
American
Union.
Federation of Teachers.
And she is on a panel today or tomorrow here coming up that is literally entitled Powering the Political Revolution. And so that's why this is so dangerous and needs to be taken seriously.
Let's talk about the Canadian unions involved in this. Now, Minnesota, of course, borders Canada.
Mhm.
I think it's mostly bordering Manitoba. Is that right?
Yep.
What's going on with the Canadian unions here?
I mean, you've got Carney, who really is he doesn't know his rear from his elbow. I mean, he's kind of all over the place, and he'll just capitulate to anybody with some puppet strings, I think.
Right.
So that's kind of a problem.
The Prime Minister of Canada.
Yep. And you also look at, the mentality there. Minnesota mentality, by and large, and I say this as someone who lived there for 12 years.
12 long years.
Very involved in not just local politics, but also business in the state, and had kids, raised kids, and going to the schools, and knew lots of people there. And it's the mentality of the people is go along to get along. It is don't ruffle feathers. Everything is kind of sing-songy, fence-sitting. The GOP is useless there. They are the most spineless GOP in the entire country, in my opinion. You talk about strongly worded letters, right? Like that's we're going to call them in for a hearing. Okay. And that never goes anywhere. It does anything. And the people of the state just feel good. They just, if I vote Democrat, it feels good because that's, what my grandpappy used to do.
Are you saying that Minnesota nice is really Minnesota weak?
Minnesota weak. I used to call it Minnesota nice, ... to your face. And it's not that they're necessarily two-faced or nasty behind your back. It's just that they don't care beyond that simple face-to-face interaction, everything. Unless you were like, they tend to marry people who've lived there their whole lives. The culture there is very we've got everything we need right here, and I'm just going to stay with my family here, and we're going to talk about our high school stories from 25, 50 years ago, and that's that.
A little bit insular.
They don't get out much. They take a vacation to Mexico every spring break and call
I'm
that
surprised
culture.
It's not Cuba or China.
Maybe Cuba. Cuba's probably on the list, but Mexico is cheap and it's straight south, and that's what they do. And listen, there's a lot of really nice people there. I have friends still there. Please don't take offense. You know who you are, but
the rest of you, watch out.
I mean, it's not surprising this is happening in Minnesota, I guess, is my assessment.
So there was an event over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the killing of Alex Preddy, followed by more riots. And then the organized left went after Greg Bovino and the CPB Border Patrol agents at a hotel in Maple Grove?
So over the weekend, they trashed the Home 2 Suites in St. Paul.
Oh, is that where it was?
That was the original. Well, I wouldn't say the original, but it was one of the hotels that they've trashed most recently.
They trashed it.
Really trashed it. I mean, broke into the lobby, took vending machines, and knocked them over and things like that. And nothing was done. So
riot.
This was in St. Paul. No local police, no sheriff. There was one police officer there. Contrast that now with
Was that a police officer or a federal officer?
It was they just said police in the thing that I saw, so I can't say whether it was sheriff or state.
I think it was one federal officer.
Okay.
Who was bloodied.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that was a federal officer.
So that was
holding
terrible.
off 30 people.
Right. All by himself.
Yeah.
No backup.
No
sent.
backup from
okay?
St.
So
Paul
that's St. Paul.
Police. Yeah.
Then what happened yesterday was in Maple Grove, which is north of the Twin Cities, suburb, relatively affluent suburb, really good shopping up there. You know, it's kind of a lot of big box stores, but they've also got some mom and pops and things like that. So really cool community, very hockey oriented, Maple Grove. And the situation there, when the rioters tried to take over, vandalize, break into the hotel where Bovino was staying.
Bovino, at the
allegedly,
time,
we think he was staying.
we think
right.
Bovino was the kind of commander at large for Border Patrol.
Correct.
Was involved in the Border Patrol and ICE were up there.
Mm-hmm. And but contrast that with St. Paul, right? That was chaos. They let the riot happen.
Right.
Walls fry. The rest of them didn't do anything. Maple Grove sends in their police department and
This is
knocked
the
it
local
down
Maple Grove
right
police.
away.
Yeah.
Yes, Maple Grove police really took out any possibility for them to take over that hotel. It was over in a snap.
A lot of the protesters arrested.
Yes, arrested. So what this tells me is that all this time, the Twin Cities police departments, the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, and the state police all could have been used weeks ago and for weeks to make sure that these riots didn't get out of control. And they didn't. Not just at hotels, but everywhere. So what does that tell you about the intentions of Mayor Fry and Governor Tim Walz?
Yeah, they wanted the
chaos
to happen.
They chose it. In my opinion, every person who is injured deserves to be able to sue them personally for not doing their jobs and putting people in danger. The families of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, you put this on the people who were there. Their only job is to protect your people, and they didn't do it.
The mayor probably has individual immunity, but the city of Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota have some liability there.
That's right.
I think.
The blood is on their hands.
We'll have more with E.J. Host when we get back.
Hey folks, Al Green here for SatPhone. When you're on the go, you want to know you're connected. If it's a family vacation or an off-the-grid escape to a remote destination, having reliable communication helps you feel safe and secure. You can't afford to find yourself in a dead zone. That's why you need SatPhone. SatPhones are reliable, durable, and give you global coverage. If you can get outside, you can get in touch. It's that simple. Make calls from your SatPhone to any regular cell phone in the United States. The phones are $1,500 value, but you can get yours free. Just sign up for a 15-month plan, $94.95 a month. Get 150 minutes monthly that roll to the next month. Go 3 months without using them, that's fine. Yes, 3 months, 450 minutes, all yours. Visit SAT123.com or call 855-980-5830. SAT123.com, 855-980-5830. Get surety and security with your sat phone. Call now.
The math is simple. Every dollar we waste on unnecessary federal supervision is a dollar we can't use to fight violent crime. The Safer Supervision Act cuts bureaucratic waste and frees up law enforcement resources to protect families from serious threats. Law enforcement officers across the country and Republicans in Congress agree this is a smarter way to improve public safety. Stop the waste, protect our communities, fix federal supervision. Visit safersupervision.com to help. Paid for by the Reform Action Fund.
It's simple. No worker should ever be forced to pay money to a union boss just to get or keep a job. That's why hardworking Virginians overwhelmingly support right to work and agree that forced unionism is wrong. Unfortunately, right to work is under threat from radical state legislators who seek to overturn right to work and grant union bosses the power to have workers fired for refusing to pay union dues. Studies show that if they succeed in repealing Virginia's right to work law, it would cost the Commonwealth over 200,000 jobs. That's why it's vital to tell your legislators and Governor Abigail Spanberger to defend right to work in Virginia. With the General Assembly now in session, it's vital you make your voice heard today. Go to VirginiaRightToWork.com and demand your legislators and Governor Spanberger oppose forced unionism and protect right to work. Defend freedom and Virginia jobs today. Sign your petition at VirginiaRightToWork.com, paid for by the National Right to Work Committee.
How much did you win at Rosie's Gaming Emporium?
Hi, I'm Jerry from Richmond. I won a $23,000 jackpot at Rosie's.
I'm Tammy. I'm from Newport News, and I just won a $5,400 jackpot from Rosie's.
Hi, my name is Kim, and I'm from West Virginia, and I won $99,000 jackpot at Rosie's.
Are you ready? Learn more about Rosie's rewards and jackpots at rosiesgaming.com. Must be 18 or older. Problem gambling? Call 1-888-532-3500.
I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of Glockstore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported the Second Amendment rights of free men and women to protect themselves and their families with firearms. We offer the very best in both selection and prices on Glock handguns, custom Glocks, Glock magazines, and high-performance shooting accessories at Glockstore.com. We also have the finest retail showroom and our Shoot 270 shoot rooms right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Come visit us at Glockstore.com, and you'll be glad you did.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
In studio, E.J. Haas, official guest host of the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. E.J., you're talking about the dereliction of duty of Minnesota police, Minneapolis police, and St. Paul police. The chief of police in Minneapolis, I think, is just beneath contempt.
Weenie.
Weenie, and there's all sorts of stuff about his background. But let's see what he said. This is regime media Margaret Brennan on Face the Nation, actually asking a good question. And let's see what he says. Let's see the question and how he responds.
Were you ever ordered to stand down? Have police been told not to protect ICE?
It is deeply disappointing to have anyone question and disparage the hard work of the men and women of the Minneapolis Police Department. There are 600 police officers that are left here after the destruction of the city in 2020, and they are doing an incredible job. About a dozen of our...
Is that an answer?
No, obviously not. Obviously not. So, does she follow up?
No.
Of course not.
She asked the question, but she didn't follow up.
Right.
And if this guy is here with me, I would say, wait, what is your answer to that question? Yes or no? And it's either yes or no.
Yeah, it is either yes or no. And he mentions the George Floyd riots from 2020. And let me just tell you.
You were up there, weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was widely reported that they were told to stand down. Mm-hmm. You remember Governor Walz saying, we're not going to save the 3rd precinct downtown.
Minneapolis Mayor Fry ordered police away from that precinct.
Yep, they retreated. Yeah. So it's not an unreasonable question for really any reporter. I wish anyone would ask them, did you tell state police or were Minneapolis police told to stand down?
I think the assumption is they were.
There's a history there. There's a track record of it, obviously. So, yeah, let's get to the bottom of that.
Yeah, I would say so. Let's go now to clip 19. This is something that Margaret Brennan did not ask about. This is about the ICE officer who had his finger bitten off.
Disgusting.
By peaceably assembled leftists. Right, let's play the clip. Yeah,
you can't.
You can't tell. Anyways, so he had his fingers bitten off.
Yeah, for those who couldn't see it on X or YouTube or
his finger
Roku or wherever. Yeah, I mean, he's just gushing blood from his hand. I mean, remarkably calm. I'm pretty sure I'd be freaking out. So
look at my finger; it's not there anymore, and it's bleeding like crazy.
Bit it clean off. Do you know the power and rage you have to be feeling to do that?
It was a woman.
These people are radicalized. So I'd like to know who radicalized Alex Petty. Who radicalized him? Was he part of the nurses union getting all of that propaganda over and over and over again?
There is a nurses union up there. He worked for the VA, I think.
Yep. And so, was he getting that propaganda there? Was he involved in this Signal chat? Sounds like he was.
Tell our listeners about the Signal chat.
So the Signal chat, so these organizations, and they have some administrators. Signal is basically a communications app. It's very similar to like a WhatsApp or your group text, that sort of thing. And they have, just thousands of people now that have been exposed for being part of this anti-ICE. Really, it's almost like a militia.
It's an organized insurgent militia.
Yes, it's like a terror cell, really.
Right. Yeah.
And that's how they're operating. So they have calls to action where they say, there's an ICE operation going down in this neighborhood on this street. Who can get there? And then people respond and say, I can get there or whatever. Bring this. We need water at this particular thing. The no-go zone needs firewood. Everybody bring it there. They have lookouts throughout the entire Twin Cities area and beyond, for that matter, up into the suburbs now too. And it's becoming increasingly more plausible, I would say, that some very high up in the administration, people in Governor Walz's cabinet, were potentially in this Signal chat. Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan being called out by name. It's allegedly at this point, but I think that will come out. And then others. So the unions, these NGOs that are being funded, some people from school board members and these people running different organizations, DEI organizations, things like that within the community are all part of this. In fact, it confirmed being an admin on this Signal chat is former Walz campaign staff.
Right.
So, this is going to expose a lot of people. If you follow Data Republican on X, that's a really good account to follow. That's where all the data is. She takes things and throws it into spreadsheets and makes it readable, digestible, that sort of thing. But this was exposed by Cam Higbee, independent journalist who infiltrated and got into this Signal chat and was able to expose what was happening.
Notice what you said there, which is true. Independent journalist, Cam Higbee. And then you had Nick Shirley, who exposed the fraud. And obviously, there's a connection between the exposure on the fraud.
Correct.
And then the resistance to ICE.
Yeah.
This is a misdirection by Governor Walz, Mayor Fry, Attorney General Ellison. They're all implicated in the fraud.
Yes.
They're all implicated in the fraud.
That's exactly right. And, it's kind of sad. These people like Alex, like Renee Good, like Renee's wife, girlfriend, whatever.
No, not wife. Not wife.
Girlfriend, partner.
Partner.
Yes, whatever.
No legal standing there.
But these people are being radicalized. And they're getting into like a Signal chat.
Right.
And then they're just they're fed this propaganda. I mean, look at what they believe. In fact, it's regular people too.
Let's see. Let's bring up clip 25, if you would, as to what they believe. Here is an example of the craziness of the people that are out there resisting ICE. This guy was an activist. He was on Jake Tapper. I don't know if you saw this clip.
Yes.
Let's play it right now.
I understand that, but they take people to Fort Snelling here, which literally was built as a concentration camp, and Alligator Alcatraz, which I think we can all agree is a concentration camp. I'm not saying they're Dachau. I'm not saying they're putting people in ovens yet. But
Okay.
these are
Come on.
Outrageous. And shame on Jake Tapper for letting that guy talk. Fort
Really?
Snelling is barracks. Fort Snelling is a historical fort that has been there for a really long time. There's also
In Minnesota.
Yes, and it's St. Paul area, and there's a beautiful and wonderful cemetery there. It is a military institution, absolutely not a concentration camp, nor has it ever been. So shame on Jake Tapper for letting that guy go on about it. But let me just say this. Regular people just going about their business, living in the suburbs or rural areas, are also getting sucked into this propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
If you live there, all you see all day, every day, local news, on your social feeds,
Right.
everything, are these incredible lies. And I try to tell a friend of mine, like, everything you're seeing is completely different than what the rest of the entire country and world is seeing. You guys are getting fed very much on purpose this propaganda to rile you up and make you dislike and really resent our federal government. Ask yourself why. Because they already did this to you a few years ago during COVID and George Floyd.
Right.
They already did this to you. How are you still falling for the same storyline? How are you still falling for this propaganda? They can't answer it. And if you give them facts, you know what the response is? Well, they can fake anything. To which I reply, yes, if anything can be faked, why are you not questioning what you're seeing? It's only fake if it's what I'm seeing. Silliness. So it's unfortunate, but I mean they're walking out in some of the more prominent affluent areas, and schools are having, as young as middle school, walking out. High schools, their college campuses are just riddled with this propaganda. So all they're seeing up there is fake and lies. Exaggerations of the truth. Even if you think that the officer, fired too many times, or maybe he wasn't fully justified, whatever, to say that Fort Snelling is a concentration, that it was built as a concentration camp, that's flat lie.
When we come back, what's the solution here? E.J. Haas. We'll wait after the break.
Okay.
I'm Michael Patrick Leahy. The website, TennesseeStar.com.
If you've tried everything for cheek redness or breakouts and nothing works, it's not your fault. The real cause might be deeper than you think. Introducing Clear Skin Ivermectin Cream from the Wellness Company, a prescription-strength, dermatologist-developed formula that helps reduce inflammation, balance bacteria, and restore your skin's natural glow. This triple-action cream combines 3 medical-grade ingredients for powerful results. Azelaic acid to unclog pores and fade dark spots, metronidazole to control bacterial imbalance and redness, and ivermectin to calm irritation and eliminate skin parasites that contribute to rosacea and acne. Together, these ingredients work to reduce bumps, swelling, and redness while supporting smoother, healthier, and more radiant skin over time. Formulated and compounded in the United States, this FDA-approved cream is trusted by doctors for visible and lasting results. Experience clear, confident skin with the Wellness Company's Clear Skin Ivermectin Cream. U.S. residents only. Head to twc.health/Godzilla and use code Godzilla to save $20 off, plus free shipping.
For years, the Europeans have underestimated President Trump time after time. But at every turn, he's been right. On energy, on NATO, on foreign free riding. It's time they pay up. That's why he's cracking down on foreign countries that don't pay their fair share for American medicines. Renegotiating trade deals for the prescription drugs we invent. President Trump is ending the foreign freeloading, making Europe pay their fair share.
Paid for by Americans for Limited Government.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cells Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's healthycell.com, code GODZILLA for 20% off.
Is your pet ready for some pawsome fun? At Creekside Pet Hotel in Kennesaw, every day is a tail-wagging adventure. Whether they're romping with friends in day camp, enjoying a staycation in our cozy boarding, or getting pampered in our luxury spa, we make sure every furry guest gets the royal treatment. Happy pets, wagging tails, and the best care. What more could they ask for? Book your pet's perfect getaway today at creeksidepethotel.com or give us a call at 770-422-4700.
My fellow Americans, I was this close, very close, to buying from the lumber yards. These are sick people. But I turned my head at the last second, and I saw a big, beautiful ad for D.T. McCall's. These are highly respected people. If I had not turned my head at the last second, I would have been ripped off at some lumber yard for $200 in hidden charges, and D.T. McCall & Sons are never going to do that. They'd never do that to you. These are great people. I've known them for a long time. They have great deals, and I just have to say, nobody knows deals like I do. D.T. McCall & Sons has locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, and they have been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years. These are tremendous people. D.T. McCall & Sons. Check out one of their stores today.
Impersonator not endorsed by Donald Trump.
Hi, everyone. EJ Host here, founder of the Digital Footprint Management Agency and frequent guest on the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, here to tell you about GetFoundEverywhere.com. Customers are searching for your business everywhere. Google, Apple Maps, TikTok, and new AI platforms like ChatGPT and Gemini, which is a total disruptor. Traditional search engine optimization isn't dead, but it is on life support. Old tactics don't work anymore. So how can you make your business stand out? GetFoundEverywhere.com makes your business pop on over 50 search, map, review, and AI-driven platforms. With one easy dashboard, manage business profiles, social media accounts, direct messages, even texts and reviews. GetFoundEverywhere.com is affordable, boosts your visibility, and gets your business more customers. It's time to step up your game the easy way. Save time, save money, and get more customers with GetFoundEverywhere.com.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from our studios in Nashville, Tennessee. EJ, Benjamin Franklin famously said when he left the Constitutional Convention, and Mrs. Powell, a socialite in Philadelphia, asked him, "What, sir, have you given us? A republic if you can keep it." Now, that may be apocryphal, but probably happened. We've lasted now for, well over
250 years this
as
year.
a country.
Yeah.
But it's an inflection point.
Yeah, I agree.
And because you have these crazy people in Minneapolis who've decided they don't want to follow federal law.
That's right.
That cannot be allowed. We have in our Constitution a supremacy clause, and you cannot resist the federal government, but that's what they intend to do. They think they are justified.
They do. I mean, if you listen to that wackadoodle in the church situation, right? He was screaming at them, and he was angry because they're have versus have-nots, right? He was mad that they had money and that they were sipping their lattes, and all you white, wealthy people sitting here in your lap of luxury. Okay.
I mean, come on. Those are just average middle-class people.
Yeah, just regular, normal St.
Normal
Paul
people,
people.
yeah.
There really wasn't anything spectacularly affluent about that neighborhood or anything. Regardless, though, like that crazy person is riling people up and convincing them that they are somehow oppressed by the government or by the haves versus them being the have-nots. That doesn't end well. Like that's never ended well in the history of mankind, right? It's communism, it's Stalin, and these are the kinds of things that were said during really horrible times in human history.
The Democrat Party itself has become kind of authoritarianly Stalinist, it seems to me. Marco Rubio had a few words to say about the Democrat Party. Let's hear him. Clip 11.
No, they would also take over our election system. They pretty much said they want to do that. Val Demings says she also wants the federal government to potentially take over our property insurance, which is, you can just imagine. Maybe that's what the 87,000 IRS agents will do, is run the insurance company. But I mean, the list goes on of the parade of horribles of things they would do. Look, if they were in power, I'm convinced of this now. If they had a filibuster, no filibuster, whatever, and they had been in charge during the COVID, they would have locked down the country. They would have done to the country what they did to New York, what they did to California, what they did to Illinois. That's what they would have done. In fact, Val Demings has said as much, and I think both Demings and Christ are on record as late as I think last summer asking for another shutdown in this state. They would have spent $4-something trillion. They tried to, and even in their infrastructure bill, they brag about only a quarter of that money went to infrastructure. The rest of it went to take on very serious problems like, racist roads and discriminatory trees and whatever else they can think of.
Okay, so the point is, Democrats can never take power again.
We can't let that happen.
Because they will destroy the country. That's their intent.
Absolutely. And they've said so. So take them at their word. So I think this is why I get so frustrated with the current GOP. We have technically all the power, right? The GOP can eliminate filibuster. Every time they say, well, we don't have enough votes for that, it's because you don't have enough Republican votes for that, which is a problem. So yes, I agree. Democrats can never be in power again, or our country will be completely different. It'll be flipped on its head. They have already told us that lawfare will be the word of the day. Everyone will be impeached. People are going to go to jail for nothing.
Right. That's their plan.
That is their plan. They've said so out loud. So believe them when they tell you that they will nix the filibuster. They will pack the Supreme Court. They will make the United States 54 states instead of 50.
Yeah, they'll add Puerto Rico and the District of Columbia.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that they've said it out loud. And for some reason, we're just sitting around twiddling our thumbs and not getting some things done that would prevent that. So that is frustrating. We need the SAVE Act.
Yeah. Tell everybody what the SAVE Act is.
SAVE Act is voter ID, federal voter ID. I mean, that's
for federal elections.
In a nutshell. And anyone who would fight that or fight, cleaning up voter rolls has something to hide. How can you take those people seriously? Prime example is what the Democrat Farm Labor, so the DFL party in Minnesota, that's the Democrat Party in Minnesota, after all this went down and Tim Walz and the president had a nice, good conversation.
We had a good conversation.
And things changed and I think it's funny that Walz is trying to claim victory, yet he has Tom Homan in Minnesota now. I don't think that's victory, sir, but whatever. Anyway, but the DFL party basically said, as it relates to voter rolls, and after all of this is happening where people are coming together and there's like this coordination that is trying to take place on both sides, they came out and literally used the F word and said, you want our voter rolls in Minnesota? F you.
Yeah.
What? That's your response when we're trying to calm down the rhetoric, when we're trying to stop the killing in Minnesota?
What we're trying to do, they're not, except after the call that President Trump had. He had two calls, one with Walz on Monday.
And one with Fry.
One with Fry. They did both kind of tamp it down for a bit.
Mm-hmm. Now.
Yeah, for now. Yeah. Now, what the undercurrent that is Tim Walz is thinking, they're coming after me for all this fraud.
Right.
And he knows that they're coming after him.
That's right.
And Fry does too.
Yeah. And I don't think it stops there, but that goes back to your earlier point, this kind of, 30,000 foot view. We can't let people like that have power. It's happening in Maine. It's happening in Ohio.
Mhm.
It's happening in Pennsylvania and Virginia. Virginia is a nightmare right now.
Yeah.
They are showing you what they will do. They will campaign on lower taxes. They will campaign on affordability. And as soon as they get power, like is happening in Virginia, they raise taxes immediately. So they cannot be trusted. And for all the faults that we have with the GOP, the one thing that we can say with Republicans is that it slows down that progress of the Democrat Party. It's not ideal. I don't love it. I'm not sitting out the midterms, though, because I'm mad at the
So
GOP.
there's a couple of things going on here. One of the things going on is the weakness of Republican legislators in Congress.
Yes.
And I think, look, the filibuster allows the stoppage of action by the Senate in most instances, unless you get 60 votes. And when you're 53R, 47D, they stop things a lot.
Yep.
The filibuster is not constitutional.
No,
It is a
made
rule
up
of the
rule.
Senate.
Yes. And we're all adults here. You want to change the rule? Change the rule.
Yeah.
So be it. Face the consequences. Change the rule.
So here's the thing. The Democrats, I promise you, will change it if they get power in the Senate. It's come to that.
They've already said they will do that.
Yeah. So you just gotta change the rule, and you gotta implement the president's agenda. Related to that, of course, is the fact that there are only, I think, 5 out of 94 U.S. attorneys have been confirmed.
That's right. And that's all on Senator Thune, Leader Thune. They should be confirming all of them. I've said now for months, in fact, I said it right here on this program, Congress needs some wins. I mean, if you actually want to maintain power, GOP, listen up. If you want to maintain power, you need some congressional wins. And by that, I mean DOJ, you got to cut. You've got to cut some of this funding to these NGOs, to rogue organizations, to foreign governments. People are tired of sending taxpayer money, particularly when we're in an affordability, I won't call it a crisis, but we've got some affordability issues going on in America right now. We don't want our money going overseas. Period. End of story. So just stop doing it.
Yeah.
At the very least, cut it by such a massive amount, we can see a difference, right? So that has to happen. And then I think they need to arrest someone, anyone. They have got to have some sort of high profile. You cannot tell me that Pam Bondi and the DOJ, FBI, whomever, they don't have enough evidence to arrest one person on any of these fronts that we've been talking about for weeks, months. The fraud in Minnesota. I told you where to go. Go to the agencies that are responsible for licensing, oversight, and distribution of funds. There's people there you can arrest. I promise. It's in an email somewhere that says, yeah, whatever, we're just approving these things. Go arrest that person and then perp walk them and let that show the world, put the rest of the DFL on notice or Democrat Party on notice.
Are you suggesting you're not a fan of Pam Bondi?
I'm just suggesting that I don't like the slow walking here to all of these things.
Yeah.
I don't like, strongly worded letters and meaningless hearings with Comer. Whatever. Jack Smith.
Are you not a fan of James Comer?
I am a fan of Comer, but
Asterisk.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of do nothing.
Right.
You can talk all day long, but we need something.
Yakety-yak.
So those two things I think would go a long way to the GOP maintaining power. So if they don't want to do those things, I question whether or not they actually want to maintain a majority, because it's a lot easier for them in DC to just sit around and fundraise and point fingers at the Democrats and blame them for everything. And we have a lot of really lazy Republicans that shouldn't be there anymore.
Well, yes.
The short answer is yes.
The problem, though, is getting action out of them. It requires leadership.
That's right.
And I think that's on John Thune.
I agree.
From South Dakota.
I agree.
So, John, you're doing a lot of backflips into the lake off your little, dock.
Well, it's probably a frozen lake right now.
Yeah. But the point is, you need to do a little bit more than a backflip into a lake.
That's right.
You need to lead. We'll see. Back with EJ Host after this.
Ponder this. Do you ever pray to God for something you really want or need? Do you ever feel like your prayers were never heard or answered? Maybe you are praying for your favorite team to win a championship game, only to come up short and settle for runner-up. Perhaps you prayed for a promotion that you were passed over, and there's always the lottery ticket purchase. You know, praying for a winning $1 million ticket? In these circumstances, you might feel like your prayers were not heard or answered. Don't be discouraged. Your prayers were heard and answered, just that the answer was no. You see, the Lord answers prayers in the same way a good father answers requests from his children. Even Jesus was turned down in the prayer to his Father, requesting to let the pain and suffering from the cross pass from him. However, the Lord added to this request, "Not my will, but thy will be done." With every prayer of petition, consider ending it in this manner: "Not my will, but thy will be done." The Lord hears and answers all prayers. It's just that sometimes he says no. I'm Susie Kelly, and I am passionately Catholic.
It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show.
Trouble for John Bolton. Who sends private secure messages when you're national security advisor to your wife and daughter? He's going to have to cut a deal to keep his wife and daughter out of prison.
Watch and listen weekday mornings, 10 Eastern, 9 Central on the John Fredericks channel on Apple TV, Fire TV, Roku, X, Rumble, Getter, and JFMN.TV. The Michael Patrick Leahy Show, live from Nashville.
No, don't do that, John. Yeah, he will spend time in the Gray Bar Hotel.
Let's be real. Losing weight isn't just about looking good. It's about taking back control of your overall health. 42% of adults in America are classified as obese, and obesity is directly linked to severe health issues. If you've tried diets and different workouts with no success, it's not your fault. Big Food and Big Pharma have rigged the system against you with contradicting information, leaving you confused. But there's good news. The Wellness Company just launched Drop, a GLP-1 peptide oral drop formula developed by their chief medical board, specifically designed to support your metabolism, curb cravings, and help you shed weight. That's right. No injections, no risk of the severe side effects we're seeing with Ozempic. Start your weight loss journey today and get $100 off, plus free shipping. Go to twc.health/Godzilla and use promo code Godzilla100. That's twc.health/Godzilla. Promo code Godzilla100. Take action today for a healthier tomorrow.
The Cats and Cosby Show.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories.
It's not that all Somalis are criminal. It's just that 90% of these crimes are being committed by Somali Americans. And if you came to this country and you took advantage of the Americans' generosity, you committed fraud, and you refused to assimilate, you know what? I got 4 words for you. Get the hell out.
Cats and Cosby, 5 Eastern, 4 Central on the John Fredericks Media Network.
The book needs to be thrown at these people.
Hey there, it's Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of GlockStore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported our Second Amendment rights with GlockStore.com, the world's #1 source for Glock handguns, parts, and accessories. I also support accurate, unbiased journalism like The Michael Patrick Leahy Show. His team broke the Kilmar Abrego Garcia traffic stop and was the first to obtain that video. Independent journalism at its finest. Visit us at GlockStore.com, listen to Michael Patrick Leahy, and make America great again.
This is State Senator Mark Pouty. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pouty.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pouty, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Well, we're going to shift gears here with the official guest host of the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, the one, the only, E.J. Haast. Lots of things going on in technology.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, my other life when I'm not in the studio with you, Michael, is all technology all the time. So I run a full-service digital marketing company. We help people get found online. We get you get your ads on connected television, streaming, internet, things like that. So I'm pretty well connected in the whole social media technology world and pay attention to a lot that's going on there. So big tech giants like Meta, TikTok, Google, even Snapchat, even though that's kind of fallen by, it's not as popular as it used to be. They've all been in some big hot water over the last several years based on these lawsuits. There's like over 1,000 of them where people are claiming that the social media giants have an addictive quality to them, that the algorithms are making them do things because they're so addictive.
So there is a kind of a dopamine element to this as
There
well.
is, yeah.
Tell us about that, because basically dopamine is this thing that makes you feel good.
Right. That's exactly right. And so these social media things, people who are chasing the clicks and the likes, particularly on TikTok, Meta, Instagram, Facebook, they're getting these clicks, these likes, and it's like a high. It has the same equivalent of like an upper or a cocaine or something like that.
You're reinforced, your whole sense of being is confirmed.
Right, exactly right. And so you feel good about yourself, but then take that on the other side, flip that over, and it actually is harming people. We know that there was a young girl, I believe it was New Jersey, who was led to suicide by cyberbullying because these kinds of things were happening on the social media accounts. Well, the jury selection begins today in a really high-profile case with a 19-year-old who claims to have been radicalized and addicted to social media like Meta, TikTok, Snapchat, from about 10 years old, leading to all kinds of body image issues, actually putting her in front of sexual predators and adult predators, things like that, because she was so addicted to that dopamine hit, but then also, the extreme highs and the extreme lows. So that's one thing that's happening here. But I wanted to bring all this up because there's another lawsuit happening with Meta also that is...
Just a reminder, Meta is the parent corporation of Facebook.
Right, parent corporation of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp and all of that. So as we were talking earlier this hour about the Signal chats, remember, being infiltrated by an independent journalist, what's happening on WhatsApp is somewhat similar. So there's another whole whistleblower situation going on at Meta where they are exposing that WhatsApp isn't in fact end-to-end encrypted. In other words, what you thought was private is not private, and your private conversations are now being used to train, AI systems, et cetera, and also to train their algorithms to feed you more of what excites you, good or bad.
Algorithms. It's
good
all about
or
the
bad.
algorithm.
That's right. So not just addictive algorithms, which we've seen that prove out in court before. And actually, Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Meta, is scheduled to appear in that court case with the 19-year-old. So that'll be incredible. Snapchat already settled for an undisclosed amount. They kept it quiet. So they've already said, yeah, we get it. We did it. They admitted and move on, and they paid out. So that's going on all at the same time that also Google just settled a lawsuit along the same lines. It was a $68 million suit. It was a class action lawsuit alleging the technology giant's voice assistant had illegally recorded users. So if you're using, like, say, a Google Home, if you're using your Google phone to ask, questions about the world around you, if you're using Gemini, you're using any sort of voice technology, Google just admitted, and this is according to CBS News, they just admitted that, yes, they've been illegally recording its users. So
what
if
could
Google's,
possibly go wrong with that?
Right. So they're training, again, they're using it to train their algorithms. They're training their AI systems. My best advice as somebody who wants you on all of these things so that you see the ads for my clients is turn it off when you don't want to be recorded. So turn off, the social media, watch your kids, take down that social media. Don't allow them to have it for so many hours. Require that they show you what they're looking at, right? Just go into their feed. Just open up their account and scroll their feed. You will figure out what they are looking at and whether or not they're addicted to it. Take it away. So you can't have it for 5 hours. And if your kid screams and cries and throws a tantrum, they're addicted. So, these are all big technology
a mental
news.
health problem that we have.
Yeah.
Look, I think I'm in favor. Because my kids are now, grown and they're adults. But if I had kids right now, I would not allow them to have social media. I'd give them a cell phone that could only text.
Yeah.
Right? That's it.
Yeah, but
so
even,
I could communicate with them.
Even texting now, obviously, it's not private.
Yeah, good
so
point.
you've got hacks that can get anywhere. But the reason I bring all of this up is just to warn viewers and the radio audience that what you think is private isn't private.
The one, the only, the official guest host of the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, E.J. Haast. E.J., thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey,
today.
we've got a rapidly moving hour 3. Matt Boyle, Tom Pappert, Clint Brewer. An all-star lineup to follow the big all-star, E.J. Haast. Back after this.
The Cats and Cosby Show.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories.
It's not that all Somalis are criminal. It's just that 90% of these crimes are being committed by Somali Americans. And if you came to this country and you took advantage of the Americans' generosity, you committed fraud, and you refused to assimilate, get the hell out.
Cats and Cosby, 5 Eastern, 4 Central on the John Fredericks Media Network.
The book needs to be thrown at these people.
What if you had a plan to build income outside your job? At Lifestyles Unlimited, you'll learn how people are investing in real estate to grow their income and make smarter financial choices one property at a time. Right now, join us for just $297. That's a savings of $443 off our real estate education program. Text RADIO to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
How much did you win at Rosie's Gaming Emporium?
Hi, I'm Jerry from Richmond. I won a $23,000 jackpot at Rosie's.
I'm Tammy. I'm from Newport News, and I just won a $5,400 jackpot from Rosie's.
Hi, my name is Kim, and I'm from Gloucester, Virginia, and I won $99,000 jackpot at Rosie's.
Are you ready? Learn more about Rosie's rewards and jackpots at rosiesgaming.com. Must be 18 or older. Problem gambling? Call 1-888-532-3500.
John Fredericks loves his radio and TV audience, but did you know how to follow the Godzilla of Truth wherever you go? Download the John Fredericks Radio Show app to listen live nationwide. For the daily chit-chat, Trucking the Truth, download the Getter app and join the morning fun on Getter Live from 6 to 10 a.m. Follow John Fredericks on Getter, Truth Social, or Twitter at
WENO Nashville, KQPN West Memphis, AM 760, AM 730. The Flame.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. A federal judge in Minnesota has ordered the head of ICE to appear in court. It explained why detainees have been denied due process. Here's White House correspondent Greg Cluxton.
The judge said the Trump administration has failed to comply with orders to hold hearings for detained immigrants and ordered Todd Lyons, the acting director of ICE, to appear before him Friday to explain why he shouldn't be held in contempt. The order comes a day after President Trump directed Border Czar Tom Homan to take over the immigration crackdown in Minnesota from Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, who's under fire for her response to 2 fatal shootings by ICE agents. Greg Clugston, Washington.
There's been no thaw in parts of the south as a fresh blast of Arctic air keeps much of the region gripped by snow and ice. Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves.
There is currently 750,000 homes across the country without power. Over 1 in 5 of them, over 20%, are here in Mississippi.
Nashville resident Lisa Patterson says she doesn't know when her power will come back on.
It's going down. It's getting so much colder tonight, and I would have used up all the firewood I had, and we still wouldn't have been able to get out, and it seems to be maybe a week or 2 before we get electricity.
She, like many people, have fled to warming shelters. Crews are working today to restore power knocked out by the massive weekend storm. As U.S. copes with Arctic chill, the land down under experiencing a searing summer.
Australia have sweltered in record temperatures close to 122 Fahrenheit during a prolonged heat wave. Rural towns in Victoria State registered preliminary highs of 120 degrees Fahrenheit on Tuesday. If confirmed, these were top records set in 2009 during the Black Saturday bushfires, which killed 173 people.
That's Karen Shamus. More from Town Hall.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-893-2288. That's 800-893-2288.
Amy Cox did something smart. She saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. And with that money, she decided to treat herself to an anti-aging red light mask. Will she look like a horror movie villain every night? Yes. Will her boyfriend Kevin be scarred for life? That's certainly a risk. But it's Amy's savings, and if she's willing to risk her relationship for smooth, wrinkle-free skin, well, bye-bye, Kevin. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Here's Rich Thomason now with the Midday Wall Street Business Report.
A mixed picture on Wall Street early on as corporate earnings stream in ahead of a Fed interest rate decision later in the week. American healthcare companies face the greatest pressure after the government issued a projected Medicare Advantage rate increase of less than 1% for 2027. United Health Group and Humana each saw about 16% of their value wiped out before the opening bell. Elevance Health lost 7.9%. CVS tumbled 13%. Two big city newspapers that were longtime rivals are coming under joint ownership. Publisher USA Today, which owns the Detroit Free Press, plans to buy the Detroit News. As things currently stand, the two papers will continue publishing separately. India and the European Union have reached a free trade agreement covering a market of 2 billion people. I'm Rich Thomason.
Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. A private jet crash under investigation. It went down while taking off from Bangor International Airport on Sunday.
Herman Fire, airguard fire, Herman Fire.
A preliminary FAA report says the jet crashed under unknown circumstances on departure. Former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Dr. Michael Oren, says there are mixed feelings after bringing home the remains of the last hostage from Gaza just this past week.
One half of us share the sorrow of the Gavili family over the loss of their son, Ron Gavili, who died heroically in the line of action. We share in the relief of the family in receiving his remains for proper burial in the state of Israel. And we are filled with hope for the future.
Oren was interviewed by the Salem Radio Network. The return of all remaining hostages, living or dead, has been a key part of the Gaza ceasefire's first phase. On Wall Street, it's a mixed bag. The Dow is down 346 points, the NASDAQ up 232. More from...
It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. We are joined on our Newsmaker line by our very good friend, my former boss at Breitbart News and the lead Washington political reporter for Breitbart, Matt Boyle. Matt, good morning.
Hey, Mike. How's it going, sir? Hope you're digging out of the winter weather that has affected all of us on the East Coast of the United States in the last few days.
We are digging out. We had to do a best of yesterday, but we are live and in living color today. Matt, let's focus on what's going on in Minneapolis, the insurgency there, the failure of the Minnesota state government and the Minneapolis and St. Paul local government to back up federal law enforcement, following shortly after all the huge reports of fraud. The latest is Tom Homan has gone in there and is taking charge of it. What do you make of all this, Matt Boyle?
Yeah, well, I see the left out there celebrating. They're like, "Oh, we got rid of the Kristi Noem and the Bovino guy." What have they met our friend Tom? Right, Tom Homan is as hardcore on immigration as anybody. If anything, you're gonna make the other ones look weak, right? I just don't think that this is any kind of a back down. If anything, it's President Trump doubling down. The illegal aliens gotta go, and so especially the ones with violent criminal records. And apparently the phone call that President Trump had with Governor Walz was very productive. The White House has made clear that the demands from the president are very explicit, which is that local law enforcement has to cooperate with ICE to facilitate the removal of illegal alien criminals, and that the state officials need to provide access to those illegal alien criminals that are in state custody or local custody in jails and prisons throughout Minnesota, so that they can be removed and deported from the United States. Those are pretty reasonable things, right? And there's no indication that Walz has disagreed with that. So if that's what ends up happening here, then it's a win for everybody. It's a win for the people of Minneapolis. It's a win for the people of Minnesota. It's a win for President Trump. It's a win for even the Democrats get to look like reasonable people when it comes to immigration enforcement. So, but the idea that Tom Homan is some kind of a cave or something like that, or back down from Trump, nonsense. Tom Homan was one of the first appointed people by President Trump as the border czar at the beginning, right after the election, right? He's as hardcore on immigration as they come. And so if the Democrats would feel better negotiating with him than Kristi Noem, then fine. I don't care who they negotiate with, as long as, guess what? The illegal aliens are gone. That's what matters.
So, Matt, what sounds like to me here is in that phone call on Monday, which both Walz and Trump characterized as positive, it sounded to me like Walz conceded and changed his aggressive anti-immigration law enforcement attitude. Do I have that right, or is that just kind of blowing smoke?
I kind of think so, though. Again, both sides have been kind of a little bit non-circumspect or whatever on the specifics, right? But again, we've got clear, specific expectations laid out by the White House afterwards. So as for whether or not Walz agreed with that, Walz hasn't said that he didn't. We'll put it that way. So we'll see as it develops and as it goes on, but at least for now, it looks like it's so far so good, right? Again, this notion that Tom Homan isn't as hardcore, he's harder core than any of them, right? So I'm full trust in Tom Homan when he goes there. He's on his, if he's not already in Minneapolis, he's on his way there, and when he gets there, he's going to figure all this stuff out, right? President Trump has the best people around him. And also, it's not an indictment of Bovino or Noem either. I think that they did their part, right? So President Trump uses all of his people very effectively. So I think that everybody out there that gets all worked up about this thing or that thing, right? Look, these various incidents are going to be investigated. We're going to find out the truth about them. And if consequences are necessary, then consequences will be had, right? But the point is that on the big picture goal here, which is that President Trump campaigned on, the illegal aliens gotta go, the president's delivering on that. In his first year back in the White House, we saw 3 million gone, 2.5 million self-deported, right? That we know those numbers from the federal government, and then another 500,000 were removed by the United States. The flow of illegal aliens into the country has completely stopped, right? There aren't new ones coming. So now it's about getting them back, the remaining ones out. And President Trump's delivering on that. So that's the big picture here, right? So I think that everybody's just going to trust the president here. I think the president knows what he's doing, and I have a lot of confidence in him as this proceeds.
Matt, how close was President Trump to invoking the Insurrection Act in Minneapolis?
I don't think he was close, right? And I think the reason being is that the president would much rather get cooperation from these state and local officials in enforcing immigration law. I don't think he wants confrontation or escalation. I think that he's willing and able to do that if necessary, right? But I don't think the president wants to go start or escalate things. I think he wants to see the immigration laws enforced. And if the state and local officials will help us do that, then fantastic. Let's do it, right? Like, so I don't think the president was angling to go that route. I think that he's been trying to de-escalate. If you listen to the tone from the president as he came out, remember he came out on the anniversary of his inauguration in the press briefing room and talked to reporters, right? Like, look at the tone from where he is. I don't think he's trying to escalate here. I think the president wants to see positive results for Americans, period, right? Like, and I think that that's the big picture here. So, but I mean, is that an option on the table? Sure. Like, it's never say never with President Trump. But that being said, I think that the president's overarching goal here has been to de-escalate and to get cooperation. And it looks like that might actually happen. So, which is a good thing. So we'll see.
Do you think that this anti-ICE organized protesting that has really bloomed at a very high level in Minneapolis is likely to spread in a significant way to other blue cities like Portland and Milwaukee and other places where they will be engaged in immigration enforcement?
Sure. And what we've seen exposed here is really terrifying and frankly likely criminal. I don't know. Like the FBI has announced, FBI Director Kash Patel announced that they are investigating after we saw that report from Cam Higbee that uncovered all these signal messages where thousands of them, right, like are on these signal messages coordinating dispatches and patrols. And that's not normal. Okay, like they literally are standing up a counter. It's like a militia against the federal government. Like it's so. Again, I think that what we need to see is if there were laws broken there and then accountability delivered. And then in addition to that, they need to continue to target these left-wing networks of Antifas and other radical leftists that are engaged in these un-American activities. And frankly, we need to see cooperation from state and local government, right? Like Tim Walz, Peggy Flanagan, right, the lieutenant governor, right, like, and so on and so forth, right, like all of these other folks, senators, congresswomen, right, like, like Senator Klobuchar, she wants to be the governor of Minnesota. Okay, Senator, time for you to step up and say that this is unacceptable, right, like, and to help us dismantle this, right. Same thing with Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Right, and if it does spread to other places, these tactics, et cetera, the similar type of a thing. But I think that what that demonstrates is just how much the radical left depends on the networks of fraud that have been uncovered here. And again, we've got to get back to that focus. I get it that we've got these various incidents that are terrible, but the fact is that these networks of billions of dollars of taxpayer fraud that have been uncovered in Minnesota, that are being uncovered in California. We've seen Dr. Oz out there talking about California, and it's worse. It is. It's worse in California. Let's expose it there. Let's expose it everywhere.
Matt Boyle, the great Matt Boyle, Washington political editor for Breitbart News, my good friend and former colleague. Matt, thank you so much for joining us today.
You bet, Mike, anytime.
All right. A great report from Matt Boyle. Up next, Tom Pappert, Dow Prize Award winner, will join us. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy.
Hi folks, John Fredericks here for Freedom Alliance. Veterans are still struggling with the wounds of war. They came home with injuries that changed them forever. The flag-burning troublemakers in our streets remind me how fortunate we are to have patriots who served and fought, sacrificed, and never complained. We need to support them through organizations like the Freedom Alliance. It's Military Appreciation Month and time to support those who serve. Freedom Alliance is caring for combat veterans and military families. Combat veterans fought in the worst, most dangerous places on earth. Freedom Alliance takes them to nature's most relaxing locations so they can heal. Freedom Alliance gives injured troops mortgage-free homes, new cars, and all-terrain wheelchairs. For wounded vets, there's nothing like the stability of your own home, the reinsurance of a reliable vehicle, or the independence of a wheelchair that navigates snow, ice, beach, pasture, or most any terrain. Let's fight for those who fought for us. Go to freedomalliance.org/Godzilla and make a monthly gift that will improve the life of a military hero. That's freedomalliance.org/Godzilla. Make a contribution today.
If you're like me, most moms find it difficult to prioritize self-care. Hi, it's Colleen, Program Director at the John Fredericks Media Network. With the demands of programming 13 radio stations, it's easy to forget about the things I should do for myself daily. And that's why I started with our company's Women's Challenge with Native Path Collagen Peptides. It's affordable and convenient care in just 1 scoop a day. There are so many incredible health benefits like bone and joint support, metabolism booster, and hair, skin, and nail improvement. I like to take a moment each day to prioritize myself and indulge in the health-boosting benefits of Native Path Collagen Peptides. I love mixing it up with all the different smoothie recipes, too. Learn more about Native Path Collagen Peptides and read 7 important reasons why you should be taking collagen peptides at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Prioritize your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today and get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
Target.com. Target.com is an online e-commerce tire retailer. We are here to serve the American public with the best possible customer service, the best pricing, and we make it extremely easy. We have many name brands and a lot of low-cost tires. The price is right, and it's easy. You go online to Target.com, Tireget.com, Target.com. You go there, you put your zip code in, all the inventory displays right in front of you. You can call in for help if you want to. We'll help you get the tire that you need. But we will take the tires you buy and at no extra charge deliver them to the dealer right by your house where they will be installed at the market price. It's easy. The best price, the best service. Great people to deal with. Thank you for going to Target.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
We are joined on our Zoom Newsmaker line right now by our lead political reporter at the Tennessee Star and the Star News Network and the winner of the Dow Prize for Best Local Journalist in the country, along with yours truly and our executive editor, Christina Botteri, the one, the only, Tom Pappert. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Michael.
So, this is a fascinating story at Tennessee Star, TennesseeStar.com. Our friend Johnny Garrett, who is a state representative from Sumner County area of Nashville, and is running for Congress in the 6th Congressional District, the GOP nomination, introduced a bill that basically said you've got to be a natural-born citizen without dual citizenship to run in a primary for a office in the state of Tennessee. Tell us more about this.
It's very interesting legislation that is aimed at individuals like Ilhan Omar, but specifically defined within the bill, it would prohibit any dual citizen, that is a person with a legal status simultaneously recognized as a citizen of the United States and another nation, and it would also require candidates to be a natural born citizen, defined as an individual who is a United States citizen at birth by being born in the United States or born abroad to parents who are United States citizens. So according to Garrett, this would prevent the type of individuals and candidates that we've seen on the squad, namely Ilhan Omar, who a couple years ago went viral. A Somali language speech allegedly showed her say that her primary concern in Congress is not the interests of Minnesota, it's not the interests of her constituents, it's the interests of her friends back home in Mogadishu, Somalia. And within the speech, she talks about how all of these countries have violated Somalia's sovereignty, and she will bring the might of the United States Congress against them. So Johnny Garrett said, if you want to represent Tennesseans in Washington, you should be born in the United States. On my watch, Tennessee will never send an Ilhan Omar to Congress. I'm ready to take this fight in the State House, and I won't stop until we carry that momentum all the way to Congress. Very interesting, though, Michael. I do expect that Johnny Garrett may receive some pushback on the dual citizenship angle because, of course, there are lots of countries to be dual citizens in, and they're not all Somalia. Some of them are good countries, like Israel or the United Kingdom.
Yeah, well, I note that the co-sponsor in the Senate is State Senator Brent Taylor from Memphis.
Yes, indeed, which I think indicates that it's being taken seriously. State Senator Brent Taylor, obviously a little bit new to the General Assembly, but if you look at the number of bills that he's been either a co-sponsor on or the lead on in the last few years, he has a tremendous success rate, especially with anything related to immigration. So I think that says this is going to be taken very seriously, and it might even wind up being celebrated as part of the Tennessee General Assembly's massive immigration overhaul that's going to hopefully be passed if the snow and ice lets up this year.
So what's interesting about this is for federal elections only, from what I can tell, and it doesn't address the general election. It's about the party primary. So in theory, you could, if this passes, the Democrat Party, you could not run for the Democrat nomination or the Republican nomination, but you could run as an independent if you were not natural born. Your thoughts on that, Tom Pappert?
It is interesting, and I assume I haven't dug into this super deep from a legal perspective, but one must assume that this has to do with how Tennessee political parties and political parties in the United States of America are considered. They're private organizations. It's a club that you're in with your friends. And so I think that making this proposed legislation affect a private club between individuals is a little bit different than a federal election. I think that you may run into some issues with the Constitution, perhaps is the concern, but by limiting this to the two major parties, and of course you would need to be a very wealthy man, even in Tennessee, to be an independent candidate winning a federal election. I think that would achieve the goal without running afoul of potential lawsuits from those seeking to, elect their own Ilhan Omar in maybe Nashville.
I think you're exactly right. And by the way, Johnny Garrett is a graduate of the Nashville School of Law, where I'm attending, night law school. I think he carefully crafted this because you're right. I mean, the Tennessee Supreme Court has ruled on this, that these are the primary nominations. These are private parties. This is not, you're not limiting somebody participating from the general election. I think there's precedent that you would run into constitutional challenges if you prohibited somebody from running in the general election. But you can prohibit somebody who is not a natural-born citizen or is a dual citizen from running in the primary. I think I think he was very clever in putting it that way.
Well, I think that's right. And this is what's so great about Tennessee, because this is legislation where if you look at the current political paradigm, people would say, well, what is this ever going to be used for? There is no Ilhan Omar in Tennessee. There is no crazy person. When they found a crazy person, it was Afton Bain, who has like blonde hair and blue eyes. She doesn't fit the demographic. But Minnesota once used to be a lot like Tennessee. It used to be a purpley state, then it became a Republican state, then it went far, far, far left. And part of the reason I think why it was allowed or able to go so out of control is because back when they had stable government, people weren't looking ahead with legislation just like this.
The other element of this is this is only for federal elections, not state. Is that right?
That is correct.
I think I'll give Johnny a call. I think maybe you ought to think about doing it for states, right? How is this playing out in the race for the GOP nomination in the 6th Congressional District, where you've got Johnny Garrett running against Van Hillary, former congressman, been out for like 20 years, and then was chief of staff until recently for Congressman John Rose?
Well, it does seem as though Johnny Garrett is doing quite well. It was reported a month or so ago that he'd raised over $1 million. That was still in the year 2025, so before the election year started. And I think this is a very, as you said, clever, but also very responsible thing to do in an election year. It gets people to remember that you're running for Congress while also taking steps to make Tennessee a stronger and more politically stable state. So I think this bodes very well for his candidacy, and I'll be honest, I haven't heard much from Van Hillary. Frankly, much like John Rose, who of course is not going to run again, instead running for governor of Tennessee in a race that I think has largely been dominated by Marsha Blackburn so far.
Yeah, and Van Hillary, good guy, friend. We haven't heard anything from him. Johnny Garrett put out the information about how much he's raised in the 6th congressional district race. We don't have a corresponding statement from Van Hillary yet, do we?
I don't think so, but with deadlines, I think I'll look it up this morning, Michael, and maybe we'll see if he's raised a commensurate amount. I would say that I think both of these candidates, if they can raise similar amounts of money, it will be any man's race, and it will be the best man to win. But I do think it's strange that we haven't heard more from Van Hillary. That said, it is January, and we're looking at a jam-packed year, I'm sure.
Absolutely. You have another story. A bill would require Tennessee City's police to report immigration-related arrests and benefits used to the new department within the Tennessee state government.
Yes, this is to the Centralized Immigration Enforcement Division. This is very interesting legislation. We already have on the books in Tennessee a bill, legislation was passed last year, requires the Tennessee District Attorney's General Conference to release an annual report saying how many illegal immigrants were arrested or convicted over the past year. We're going to get that hopefully in the next few days, but this would be in addition to that. This would be a quarterly report from local cities and law enforcement telling the Tennessee state government exactly how many illegals are arrested, how many are convicted, but also how many are using public schools, how many may be receiving some form of public welfare, how many may be receiving other forms of public benefits that are not considered welfare, how many may be, for example, driving on the streets every day. And this will all go to the state finance department for the purpose of creating an annual report that will explain exactly how much money the Tennessee taxpayer is spending to support illegal immigrants, both to prosecute them and then to incarcerate them, but also to educate them and to take care of them and potentially to provide them with food and shelter. So I think this is a critical piece of legislation. And again, if Tennessee passes it, it's what will make it a model state for the rest of the union.
Yeah, and this is part of the whole illegal immigration package of laws, 8 or 9 laws. I see them all passing. What do you think, Tom?
It's interesting, Michael, because they introduced 8 all at once and said this is the package. But since then, we've actually seen, I think, 3 more immigration bills. This is one of those 3. But I certainly think it's going to pass if it's being introduced in such close proximity to the immigration package that has the full endorsement of Republican leadership. And look, this is a big moment for Tennessee. Folks should be bragging about this. Go on social media and talk about how Tennessee is the best state in the union and making Minnesota look pathetic. They just started maybe cooperating with ICE last night. Tennessee has a whole smorgasbord of legislation to make sure they have to cooperate with ICE.
You stole my thunder, but the point is excellent. Thank you, Tom Pappard. Appreciate that report.
Thank you, Michael. Always a pleasure.
When we get back, Clint Brewer joins us. How did people in Middle Tennessee survive the storm? Back after this.
EJ Haast here, founder of the Digital Footprint Management Agency and frequent guest on the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, here to tell you about GetFoundEverywhere.com. Customers are searching for your business everywhere: Google, Apple Maps, TikTok, and new AI platforms like ChatGPT and Gemini, which is a total disruptor. Traditional search engine optimization isn't dead, but it is on life support. Old tactics don't work anymore. So how can you make your business stand out? GetFoundEverywhere.com makes your business pop on over 50 search, map, review, and AI-driven platforms. With one easy dashboard, manage business profiles, social media accounts, direct messages, even texts and reviews. GetFoundEverywhere.com is affordable, boosts your visibility, and gets your business more customers. It's time to step up your game the easy way. Save time, save money, and get more customers with Get Found Everywhere.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of Glockstore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported the Second Amendment rights of free men and women to protect themselves and their families with firearms. We offer the very best in both selection and prices on Glock handguns, custom Glocks, Glock magazines, and high-performance shooting accessories at Glockstore.com. We also have the finest retail showroom and our Shoot 270 shoot rooms right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Come visit us at Glockstore.com, and you'll be glad you did.
My fellow Americans, my good friends, I've known them for a long time, at D.T. McCall & Sons have the deal of a lifetime for you, and nobody knows deals like I do. That much I can tell you. Nobody knows deals like I do. The lumber yards, they can hit you with hidden charges for up to $200 extra. They'll charge you for cords and hoses and haul-offs. Your money goes all over the place and out of the state, and most importantly, out of your pockets. How do they get away with that? I don't know how they do that, but on day one, if you buy from McCall's, we are going to stop the hidden charges as soon as you buy it. D.T. McCall & Sons has locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, and they have been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years. Head to one of their stores today or check them out at dtmccalls.com. You're going to love it, believe me.
Impersonator not endorsed by Donald Trump.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
We are joined on our Newsmaker line right now by all-star panelists, recovering journalists, all-around good guy, public affairs specialist, the one, the only Clint Brewer. Good morning, Clint.
Hey, Mike, how are you? This feels like pandemic days, me calling in.
It
you know
does.
what I mean?
Well, you know, discretion is the better part of valor. It's still very cold out there. The roads have been better, but there's still a lot of black ice on it. The temperature is warming up now. You're out in Wilson County. Tell us what the weathering the storm was like in Wilson County.
Well, you know, it wasn't terrible. The governments out here really actually did a pretty good job. I'd give Mayor Randall Hutto and Wilson County government a lot of kudos. My road, I don't live in one of the cities. I live out in the county. Our road is clear as can be. It was scraped regularly during the snow, during the ice. The on-ramps and exit ramps off 840 are clear. I have been into Lebanon and Mount Juliet. The roads are clear there. They've done real well out here, actually. Managed it really well. There was some power outages, but they were sparse out in the county. Probably has to do with less density in the housing. There were some outages in the far western part of Mount Juliet and deep in the middle of Lebanon, but I think Middle Tennessee Electric has resolved those pretty quickly. So all things considered, I think we got a little lucky. Didn't have the wind others did, didn't have the trees falling that they did in Davidson and Williamson County, Williamson County, but pretty well handled. And I don't think we quite got the brunt of it, but the local governments did a good job.
Yeah, I live in Williamson County. You live in Wilson County. We're both served by Middle Tennessee Electric. I think they did a really good job with power outages and getting people power back quickly.
Yes.
It was a different story in Nashville. Nashville Electric Service, I think they had at one time over 200,000 people out of power. And it's been a slow recovery with NES. Why is there a difference, you think, between NES recovery and Middle Tennessee Electric recovery?
Well, I mean, to give NES and Nashville a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, it was an extraordinary weather event. I can't remember one in this part of the state quite like this before. The net effect of it is like a tornado came through certain parts of town, except all the trees have ice on them when they're on the ground. It's a very unique weather event. I think there's a lot more, population density in Davidson County. So, houses closer together, and when a tree falls and hits a power line, it affects a lot more people than it does in other places. I'll say this, I mean, just picking up online and hearing from friends in Davidson County, there's some growing dissatisfaction with the speed of the response. But, to give them the benefit of the doubt, I don't know that it could be helped.
Yeah, I saw some reporting, I think, at Fox 17, which have been questioning about whether NES had proper staffing at the level that needed to be the case. Hard to say. There's still the recovery is, a lot of people are still out of power in Metro Nashville.
No, they are. A lot of people are out of power. And NES, their territory actually, as I understand it, goes partially into Williamson County. So there's a part of Brentwood. Of course, Brentwood straddles Davidson and Williamson County, and there is a piece of Williamson County that's covered by NES that's still without power. So, I think they've got a difficult job. It's hard to maintain staffing levels for a disaster at all times. I don't think this is an every year occurrence. So, I think it's a challenge. You just, we live in the South. You don't get weather events like this very often.
I'm going to say something that will surprise you.
I bet it's not going to surprise me.
I can tell you, I think all of the local television stations owned by these big media giants, Fox 17, WSMV, owned by Gray TV, WKRN, owned by Nexstar, News Channel 5, owned by Scripps. I'm just going to say, I thought they all did a very good job reporting on this.
No, I think you're right. And I think they were very helpful. In these weather events, whether it's tornadoes, dangerous winds, floods, what we had this week, what we're having this week, local media is really where the rubber meets the road on how people get information. I'll say this. There's a Twitter account that I think people have started to rely on as much as anything, and that's Nashville Severe Weather. I don't know if you follow that or not, but they have a lot of expertise. There's also a Wilson Severe Weather that does a decent job as well, and I think social media played a role in how people got information and are still getting information. Nashville Severe Weather, they primarily cover Nashville and Williamson County. I think they did a great job. So I do think local media steps up during these times.
Yeah, they did. And it's interesting because I think all the management teams on the local television stations, they basically said all hands on deck. And so you would have, political reporters covering the weather. They would basically, I think they put on their, like a News Channel 5, they put on the little News Channel 5 hats, right? And wherever they were, they would just, get a camera and they'd say, here's what it looks like here. And since they all, some live in the suburbs, some are in Williamson County, some in Wilson County, I think we ended up with that approach and getting a very good and accurate description of how everything was turning out.
Well, it's probably a welcome break for the political reporters, a little less stressful covering a weather disaster than covering politics.
I think you're
it was like a partial vacation,
And again, I'll surprise you again. The WSMV had the Stacey Cameron guy, their political reporter, the one who called up the judge, and said, "Hey, look into that Leahy guy." And I think you should charge him with contempt of court, which of course was ridiculous. But even he, I'm going to say, even he was out there and gave a report. I think it was in Brentwood. It was pretty good. He did a pretty good job on the ground. So how about that?
Well, the best reporters all started somewhere as a general assignment reporter covering cops and weather. So you got to know how to do that before you can do anything else.
You know who else was out there reporting? It was Clay Travis. Did you know that Clay Travis is a weather guy? He likes weather. He's very obsessed with weather. And he did some reports on Fox News from Nashville, and really was
interesting.
He was really into it. He really, there are a lot of people
I know Clay a little bit. That doesn't entirely surprise me.
There are a lot of people out there that are like weather obsessed. I know our buddy Sean Farash is a big weather guy. Sean, go ahead.
When I was a young reporter, and I was at a paper, it's still around. It's not a daily anymore, but the Lebanon Democrat in Wilson County. I was the State House reporter, the political reporter, right out of school, and covered the General Assembly in the mid to late '90s. And we had an editor. He's a great guy. His name's Sam Hatcher, and
I know Sam. He's a great guy.
Well, he's a great guy, and his favorite thing in the world was a weather story. He'd just say, "All right, time for a weather story." He loved weather stories. We'd go ride around and get photos of whatever craziness was happening, and there's a certain cut of media person that just loves a weather story.
Well, Sean Farash, who's here every Wednesday, will be tomorrow with us, I think, if weather permits. He does a Trump impersonation. And he did a Trump weather report. It was just a couple
that's great.
And it was so good that Britt Hume from ABC, from Fox News, previously ABC, Britt Hume said, "This guy sounds just like Trump."
I would like to hear a Trump weather report. That would be good.
Well, I think we may get to that in news potpourri. All right, so what's the week look like? Politically, this has an impact. I think, is the Tennessee General Assembly going to meet at all this week? Are they just going to punt and meet next week?
I would imagine they're just going to meet next week. Of course, what that's going to do, the main thing it's going to do is going to change the bill filing deadlines. So, members have certain dates in the House and the Senate. They're not always the same date to get their bills filed. And I think the Senate bumped theirs a week. I don't know if the House has bumped theirs, but it's going to push back bill filing deadlines a little bit, I would think.
I think the bill filing deadline for both houses before the storm was this Thursday, January 29th. And since they haven't been in session, what you're saying is you think that the state Senate has pushed that back 1 week to the first week of February. I would think...
one of my staffers told me that, and so I would imagine the House will follow suit, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know. But I think it would make sense for them to push it back 1 week because people are putting bills together, except nobody's doing anything right now on anything other than making sure they make it through the storm.
Well, and most legislators, I know it's hard for people in Nashville to imagine this, but most of our General Assembly come from rural places. And so a lot of them have a long way to travel.
Yeah.
Imagine if you're trying to get here from, say, Washington County or somewhere in Upper East Tennessee, and they got hit pretty hard too. It's treacherous. Not every patch of road is cleared, and I think it would be a safety issue. I think we should keep people home, and I think they are. Staff has the same set of problems. I would imagine it's going to be delayed. It's already Tuesday.
Yeah.
State offices were closed down. I can't imagine them summoning them back to do Thursday and then go home Friday. But you never know. I mean, I know they I like the fact that our General Assembly prides itself on a nice, since Republicans took over, pride themselves on a nice, tight session that usually ends in, mid-April to early May. And I think they'll stay on track for that. But,
I think they will also, but, act of God and nature, there's nothing that could be done. And you're right.
Yeah, you lose a week, you got to compensate.
Yeah, pretty much I think you're right. I think they're going to lose a week. And look, this week, the high today will be 34. The high tomorrow, 32. Thursday, 34. Then Friday, high of 23. Saturday, high of 18. It's not until Monday where we get back above freezing with a high of 37. My guess is that the Tennessee General Assembly will reconvene in Nashville on Monday. That's my best guess.
I think that's a pretty good guess, Mike.
Well, Clint Brewer, I am so glad that you're safe and sound and you weathered the storm well out there in Wilson County. But I think next week you'll be here live and in living color Tuesday in our third hour.
I will.
All right.
We'll have a lot to talk about.
Oh, yes, we will. Clint Brewer, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Mike.
Up next, it'll be time for News Potpourri.
This is Tom Carmichael, CEO of Soul Tea, a supplement to help you have a healthier heart and stronger cardiovascular system. At Soul Tea, we regularly get emails from our customers telling us how Soul Tea has helped them. Like this one from Kelly. Hello, I'm 58 years old and have had high cholesterol for years. I wanted to stay away from prescription drugs. My husband and I have been using Soul Tea for about 13 months. My results have been amazing. My cholesterol levels went from 291 to 129. I am so impressed with Soul Tea and want to thank you. Now, in my own case, my bad cholesterol dropped from 130 to 89, and that was 20 years ago. I'm 75 years old and I take 0 prescription drugs. To get a great deal on Soul Tea, please go to GodzillaHeart.com, and when you check out, use the code Godzilla to get our best deal, which is 50% off your first shipment and then 3 bottles for the price of 2 thereafter. You don't have to live with a broken heart.
Do you suffer from
Try
declining
Soul Tea
bone and
today.
joint health? Hi, it's Tina with the John Fredericks Media Network. And when I heard about our company's Women's Challenge, I jumped on the opportunity to test this amazing supplement that's already restoring my bone density, soothing my joint pain, and helping me regain lost mobility. I've experienced so many benefits in such a short time with Native Path Collagen Peptides because they support my bones and joints, boost my metabolism, and unleash the most radiant skin and hair since my 20s. In just 2 weeks, my knee stiffness is gone, and I'm already hitting the gym more aggressively. And I get so many compliments on my glowy skin and shiny hair. Native Path Collagen Peptides are so easy to take. They're tasteless, odorless, and mix great with my morning coffee. Read thousands of 5-star reviews at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Level up your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today. And get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cells Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's healthycell.com, code GODZILLA for 20% off.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from our studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Folks, it's that time of day again. It's time for News Potpourri. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, News Potpourri. This is the portion of the program we talk about the stories that are of note, don't necessarily merit a full segment, and may have a touch of irony. Well, we promised that Sean Farash as Trump weather report. Here it is.
This is your favorite meteorologist reporting live from the snowstorm. It's very cold. It's colder than the average Somali IQ. It's very cold, very low temperatures. You know, their IQs are very low. but the temperatures are lower than that, which means it's very cold. You have big, beautiful flakes falling from the sky, fat flakes. It looks like Chris Christie falling out of the sky, but we get along very well with the snow. In a few hours, we're expecting ice. You love ice. We all love ice, except when it gets on the power lines. Then we want to abolish ice, but we hope the power stays on, and we hope you stay warm. You don't like it when your temperatures get lower than the Somali IQ. It's very hard to get that low, but it's very low. So the flakes are huge. The flakes are huge. The flakes are fat. Like Chris Christie falling out of the sky. The flakes are fat, but it's a big, beautiful snowstorm, and we made a tremendous deal with Mother Nature, and she's doing a fantastic job with this storm. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Sean Farash, he's so funny. You know, I said, Britt Hume saw that and said, this guy sounds just like Trump. And Sean tweeted back, yeah, thanks, Britt, appreciate it. And I think if all goes well, Sean Farash will be here in studio with 47 tomorrow in hour 3. Okay, we've got another clip we've got to play for you. It's fascinating. They brought out this Somali woman who was trying to explain how great Somalians are in America. I'll just play it and let it speak for itself.
So I'm Somali. I'm proud to be Somali. To me, being Somali isn't just eating bananas with rice. It's a lot. It's like it's an interesting thing. It's very hard to describe what it means to be Somali and what it means to be American, but it's like a cultural fusion. It's kind of like the bananas and rice. You know, people don't really see, like, you know, it's you know, people don't think, oh, you can eat bananas with rice, but that's what it's like to be Somali and American. It's like that combination of banana and rice, but you're gonna get what I mean.
No. We are not going to get. We don't have any understanding of what you mean. By the way, they did this list of the average IQ by country, like 100 being like the average person in the world. The average IQ of the average Somali is 68. She might well be below that number. Oh, being Somali isn't just eating bananas and rice. Being Somali is, well, eating bananas and rice. I don't know. She's a spokesperson for it. Not good. Okay, well, what else do we have here? Last night, Donald Trump held a 2-hour meeting with Kristi Noem, Secretary of Homeland Security. And her advisor, Corey Lewandowski, was there. The New York Times reported this. And they said, no, nobody's getting fired. The betting odds are that it might be fired. I don't think she will. I think the Minnesota situation has spiraled out of control. I don't think that it's all the fault of how DHS has handled it. In fact, I do think, though, that there is an organizational structure here that Tom Homan going in there is likely to change, because Homan is, Kristi Noem was a political figure. She was a governor of South Dakota, but she really didn't have any law enforcement background. Tom Homan is, from Carthage, New York, almost all the way up to the Canadian border, in a part of the world that I know well. Tom's been a guest on our program many a time. He got to start as a police officer, and then a border patrol guy, and then the acting head of ICE, and was like highly decorated for his work in ICE. ICE and Border Patrol have two very different missions. And I think, although, sending Border Patrol up there may have been done for the purpose of, adding extra resources, I think probably you ought to have ICE handle interior enforcement of immigration law. And the Border Patrol needs to be up on the border. That's really kind of what I think. Also, there is a little bit of a rivalry, we're told, going on between kind of the Kristi Noem approach and the Tom Homan approach. Now, the cabinet officer is Kristi Noem. She was approved by the Senate, and it seems likely that Tom Homan in the Trump 1.0 was the acting ICE administrator, but he wasn't approved by the Senate to be the full-time ICE administrator. He resigned kind of like halfway through the term, but that had been planned for a long time. But I think in terms of the person that I would have the most confidence in this matter would be Tom Homan. And borders it's not really a line authority, right? He doesn't control all this stuff. But the problem with that, I think, would be, okay, I don't think Trump is going to replace Kristi Noem because that would have an impact on the entire immigration policy. But I do think they're going to reorganize the way the immigration enforcement is handled. And I think what you're going to see Tom Homan step up with more authority operationally than just, going and being a talking head. And I think this trip to Minneapolis is the beginning of that. I think you're going to see ICE only and not Border Patrol working on identifying and deporting illegal alien criminals. Well, that's our show for today. We made it. We'll be back tomorrow morning if all goes well. Yes, we'll be here, 9 o'clock Central Time. Our website, TennesseeStar.com. TennesseeStar.com. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy. Rob Carson is next. Thanks for joining us today.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Hey there, it's Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of GlockStore.com. For over 30 years, I've supported our Second Amendment rights with GlockStore.com, the world's #1 source for Glock handguns, parts, and accessories. I also support accurate, unbiased journalism like The Michael Patrick Leahy Show. His team broke the Kilmar Abrego Garcia traffic stop and was the first to obtain that video. Independent journalism at its finest. Visit us at GlockStore.com. Listen to Michael Patrick Leahy and make America great again.
FlatFeeNashville.com is a full-service real estate brokerage that charges homeowners a upfront flat fee of $999 to completely list, market, and sell your home. We are all about saving consumers money, saving that equity. Nobody should hire an agent and feel like when that agent walks in the door, that agent is more concerned about the down payment on their next Mercedes purchase versus saving the equity that those homeowners have worked hard for. I've spent my entire career in ensuring that the equity that people save and they put into their monthly mortgage every single month, as much of that as we possibly can goes back to them when they go to list and sell that home. The idea is to give homeowners the ability to really create generational wealth.
FlatFeeNashville.com, FlatFeeNashville.com.